Hello guys, this is What If Naruto Was in High School DxD, and let's get started. Nordic Prophecy 1368, October. Have a safe trip, Papa. Yasaka shouted as she waved Naruto goodbye. Stay safe, Intern Empress. Naruto shouted as he waved back with a bright smile. He walked backwards down the road, heading towards the port. Again, you could just teleport to Norway and save us all the trouble. Kurama grumbled. If I did, then Yasaka's first-hand experience as a leader will not mean anything. Naruto thought as he entered Sage mode and took off in a run, making good time. Don't you want her to gain experience? Kurama grumbled before he went silent. I thought so. Naruto chuckled with a smirk as he continued to run, eventually making it to the port as the sun started to set all the way on the opposite side of Japan. Asgard. Odin laughed as he heard his newly collected prophecy. You say a blonde man with whisker marks from the east will come here? He asked as he got ready to depart from Asgard himself. Yes, Lord Odin. The manifestation of said prophecy replied. He will arrive here in 9 days, by foot. So says fate. Odin laughed as he finished dressing, wearing simple robes as he grabbed his spear Gungnir. Well, that should give me enough time. Odin stated as he began to leave, the manifestation of the prophecy fading into Odin's storage vault. Father, where are you going? Thor asked as he saw the All-Father heading toward the Bifrost. Thor was a tall man. Muscular with red hair, facial hair, and emerald green eyes. He wore blue and gray breast and backplate with fur lining the edges. A thick chain around his neck holding his shrinking hammer, Mjolnir. He wore a black cloak over his shoulders. I am heading to the branches of Yggdrasil. Odin stated as he pulled his hood over his head. I am going to gain new knowledge. Thor sighed with a sweat drop. Can I accompany you? Thor asked as he followed Odin. Of course, Thor. Odin said as the two left the castle. Loki, a thin man with long silver teal hair, watched from afar as Thor and Odin vanished on the Rainbow Bridge's temple. Loki. Freya, or do you prefer Frigg? Loki asked his fellow Aesir when she appeared. Freya was a gorgeous woman wearing an earth green and brown dress. She had flowing blonde hair and lime green eyes befitting of the Vanir she once led. She scowled and yanked on the Jotun's ear, nearly tearing it off. Odin might put up with your bullshit, but that doesn't mean I will. She stated clearly as Loki struggled to break free. Oh, mother. Please don't be too hard on Loki. Freya released Loki and turned, smiling brightly at her son, Baldur. Oh, Baldur, I wasn't being mean to him. Freya said in a doting tone. Baldur held Freya's beauty with soft porcelain skin, short wavy blonde hair like a field of wheat, and his father's blue eyes. He wore simple white robes with a splash of gray across his chest with a sash. He carried himself gracefully with each movement he made. Loki, meanwhile, growled as he left the mother and son alone. He stormed out of the castle, walking across the meadow. Oh, Loki. Tyr, the Norse god of war, called out as he held a giant wolf pup. Want to see how your kid is doing? Loki ignored Tyr, which made the puppy whimper in sadness. Oh, don't worry, Fenrir. Tyr said as he rubbed the giant wolf's head with tender care. He is probably under a lot of stress. Fenrir whimpered again. Loki went to the Bifrost temple, ignoring Heimdallr. Destination, Midgard. He stated as he activated the Bifrost on his own, causing a rainbow to appear, connecting both Asgard and Midgard together. 1. Loki appeared in Midgard before he teleported above the mighty waves of the Atlantic Ocean. As he floated above the waves, two massive glowing eyes shone from their depths, revealing a large shadow under the waves that extended all across the world. Meanwhile, branches of Yggdrasil. Odin stripped himself bare, leaving only a loincloth. Father, this is insane. Thor stated in vain as he attempted to talk his father out of what he was planning to do. It isn't worth. Knowledge is worth any price, my son. Odin interrupted as he took a rope and fastened it to the root. I carved out my own eye when Mimir asked me for it so I could drink from his well of knowledge without hesitation. So, I shall not hesitate here. Father. Thor started to say before he was forced to dodge Odin's spear, Gungnir. In 9 days, a man named Naruto Uzumaki shall appear, looking for me. When he arrives, give him all the courtesy we have. Now, the runes require a sacrifice. Odin stated before he tied the rope around his neck. Do not give me any help. Not even to give me water. If you do, there will be hell to pay. Odin proceeded to stab himself with Gungnir, straight into his chest, causing him to fall backwards off the branch before the rope tightened and held him with his own gravity, his blood dripping down the staff of Gungnir. And there Odin hung for 9 days and 8 nights. 9th night. It sure is much colder here than in Japan. Naruto, now age 39, shuddered as he held his furred cloak close to his body, as the snowy wind picked up in intensity. You want a bear skin? The friendly Jotun who was helping Naruto through the Bifrost temple asked. I would, thank you. Naruto thanked as the Jotun gave him a spare bear skin. Ah, much better. I'm glad I could be of help. The Jotun stated before he stopped. This is as far as I can go. I'm sorry, but if I go further, Thor the Thunderer could attack and kill me. Naruto took notice of the Jotun's anger. Does he kill a lot of Jotuns? Naruto asked sincerely. The Jotun choked up. Yes, my father and sister were some of them. He said sadly as he clenched his fist. Naruto nodded in understanding. Is this how you felt, Sasuke? Naruto thought as he paid the Jotun handsomely for his troubles before he continued on to the Bifrost temple. This sense of anger, sadness, and desire for retribution? Who are you? Someone asked as Naruto neared. Naruto turned and saw a tall man, bearing a sword as large as he was, clad in simple armor and a helmet on which a rooster stood upon. Naruto stood up straight, unafraid of this man. I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I am here to meet Odin, the All-Father. Naruto said as he held out the letter Odin wrote over a decade and a half earlier. The man took the letter and opened it. I see. He said as he stood up and bowed. My apologies, Lord Uzumaki, I am Heimdallr, guardian of the Bifrost. He motioned for Naruto to follow him, opening the temple door, to reveal a circular table, surrounded by 8 doors, each with a different color crystal before them. Wow! Naruto muttered as Heimdallr led him to the table. Heimdallr smirked at Naruto's amazement as he set the table's coordinates to Asgard. Enjoy, Lord Uzumaki. Heimdallr offered as he activated the Bifrost. Naruto nodded as he watched in fascination as the mechanism of the Bifrost activated, the colors of the rainbow swirling all around him before a condensed beam of light entered a gold crystal, shooting through it before a pillar of light shot upward, engulfing the table and Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes, expecting something to happen, but only heard the sounds of the Bifrost slowly fade. The light glowed gold while Heimdallr opened the door. Welcome, Lord Uzumaki, to Asgard. Heimdallr stated as Naruto exited the Bifrost temple. This is amazing. Naruto chuckled as he smiled at the difference in architecture and agriculture. Heimdallr looked up and saw a Valkyrie on a winged horse heading their way. I shall leave you in her care, Lord Uzumaki. Heimdallr stated as he re-entered the temple and returned to his post. Naruto whistled as he saw the Valkyrie. She had short-cut silver hair. The battle attire she consisted of a white breastplate with gold and pale blue accents and matching, fingerless gauntlets, boots, hip guards, and wing-shaped hair clips. She wore a black leotard underneath her breastplate, black thigh-high stockings, and a pale blue cloth wrapped underneath her hip guards, all of which are clad with pink lacing. She held a very voluptuous figure under the armor. At her left hip was a broad sword, on her left arm was a small circular shield with She is powerful. Naruto thought as the unnamed Valkyrie got off her horse, walking up to him. Greetings, Lord Uzumaki, she said with a bow. We have been awaiting your arrival, as foretold by Lord Odin. My name is Gondel, and I shall be your guide during your stay. If there are any questions you have, or anything else, please don't hesitate to talk to me. 2. Gives loyal a whole new meaning, right, Naruto? Isabu joked. Naruto bowed back, ignoring the turtle's words. So, you knew I was already coming? Naruto asked curiously. Yes, Gondel answered instantly, throwing Naruto off a bit. The All-Father is a collector of prophecies. And he received one of you arriving this day. Oh, that's interesting. Naruto replied nervously. Man, she is cute, but her personality is something to be desired. So, where is the All-Father? Naruto asked as he looked around, entering sage mode and sensing several gods within Asgard's castle walls. I don't seem to be able to find him. My apologies, but the All-Father isn't here. Gondel explained. He went off to acquire knowledge, but he might be back soon. Naruto deflated a bit. What? He said like a child who didn't get what they wanted. That's rude of him. Gondel didn't reply, not wanting to say something that could land her in trouble. However, I do know where he is if you so desire to see him now. Gondel replied. Yes, I would like to meet him now. Naruto said with a thankful tone. 10 minutes later. Holy shit! Naruto shouted in shock when he arrived at the branches of Yggdrasil on the winged horse's back with Gondel, who was at the reins. Before him Odin hung with Gungnir impaling his chest, his face staring down to the roots of Yggdrasil, waiting for the runes to show themselves when his sacrifice was accepted. Lord Odin has been here for 9 days, and tomorrow morning will be 9 nights. Gondel explained as they landed on the branches. He was adamant on not being helped. Lord Uzumaki, where are you going? Naruto jumped off the horse and ran to the rope that held Odin up. Wait, Lord Naruto! Gondel shouted as she jumped off her horse, grabbing Naruto's wrist and pulling him away with strength that she didn't appear to have. Lord Odin stated clearly not to help or disturb him. Your leader is hanging from a damn tree. Naruto shouted as he pulled his hand out of Gondel's grasp. I'm going to cut him down. Without hesitation, Gondel drew her sword and cut Naruto's palm open, spraying his blood on Yggdrasil's branch, soaking into the wood as Naruto's palm started to close, stemming the bleeding. Naruto glared at Gondel as she bared her shield, which expanded with a Norse seal matrix. Her sword had intricate carvings that glowed with magic as Gondel utilized her magic through her weapons. I am telling you again. She warned strictly. The All-Father ordered for no help until he got what he wanted, so that includes you too. Naruto and Gondel stood still as a wind blew across the branch on which they stood and Odin hung, the sun slowly creeping up and bathing the land in its glow. A single leaf fell between the two, twisting, turning, swaying before it landed on the branch. Naruto and Gondel shot forward, posed to strike before they stopped when Odin gasped, moving on the rope. He stared deep within Yggdrasil's roots. The runes appeared before his eye, only allowing him to see them, allowing him to gain the knowledge they held secret. All-Father! Gondel called out as she dropped her weapons and knelt before the rope, looking down at the excited Odin. All-Father, what's wrong? I've done it! Odin shouted gleefully as he gained the ability to decipher and use runes. I did it! He grabbed the rope that connected him to the branch, and with a tug, he flung himself upward, did a flourish spin that dislodged Gungnir. Odin landed on his feet, hand up to catch his spear. Hey, ha 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 ha. He laughed loudly with a massive, toothy smile. Father! Thor shouted as he arrived with Freya and Baldur. Are you all right? Odin grinned wider as he pulled the noose off his neck. Am I all right? Of course I am, my boy. He declared proudly before he took notice of Naruto. Oh, welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, hero of the faction war. Thor, Freya, and Baldur turned and blinked. What? They shouted when they realized what Odin had said as Naruto nervously waved with Gondel sheathing her sword in shame and stood behind him, awaiting any further help Naruto might need. Hello. Naruto said as Odin got dressed, chuckling to himself. It seems that when you arrived, they weren't here to greet you. Odin stated as he looked toward Gondel. Thank you, Gondel. You did an excellent job in following my orders. I thank you for your praise, All-Father. Gondel replied with deep respect and honesty. Now, Naruto. Odin said as he grabbed Gungnir and put an arm around Naruto's neck. Let's go get a drink. You spent over a week traveling here, so let's unwind a bit before we talk business. Sure, I could use a drink. Naruto said as he and Odin walked away with Gondel following them with her horse taking Thor, Freya, and Baldur back to Asgard. 4 days later, Asgard. Naruto sighed in relief as he and Odin finished settling the alliance. Phew. Odin sighed as he relaxed. Man, that was quite a doozy. It sure was, brother. Naruto blinked. Who said that? Naruto asked as it was only himself and Odin in the room. It was I, Mimir. Fuck. Naruto shouted when he shot backwards when the head Odin had at his waist spoke. Aga ha 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 ha. Odin laughed as Naruto hit the ground. Holy shit, that head is talking. Naruto shouted as he stumbled to get up. Lord Mimir is the advisor to Lord Odin, Lord Uzumaki. Gondel informed as she entered the room with a tray with water on it. After he was beheaded, Lord Odin preserved his head, and he can talk to give advice. Thank you for the quick summary, Gondel. Mimir thanked as Odin placed his head on the table. What else you going to scare me with, Odin? Naruto demanded as he got up, picking up his chair. Odin smirked. He snapped his fingers and the manifestation of prophecies appeared. What shall I help with today, Lord Odin? MOP asked as it took the form of wisps of smoke with darker areas resembling eye sockets and a mouth, with tiny limbs acting as arms. Naruto, this is the manifestation of prophecies. Odin informed Naruto. When I collect them, I put them inside it, storing them for further use later on. So, Prof, is there anything you can tell Naruto concerning his future? MOP hummed as it faced Naruto, who sat back down and didn't look impressed. I don't have to know anything about my future. Naruto informed. If I know what will happen. MOP went stiff, their eyes and mouth glowing orange before it let out a haunting wail. For the child whose palms bear the sun and moon, life as you know shall change. MOP stated in an eerie tone. Enemies thought defeated shall arise, your kingdom shall live, blood not spilled. In turn, a tan beauty awaits at the end of the road. Naruto blinked as MOP blinked, the orange glow vanishing. And that is pretty boring. Odin stated as he cleaned his ear with his pinky. Naruto looked at his palms, seeing the crescent moon and the sun on his palms. So, an old enemy of mine will attack. But which one? Will it be a devil? Or a fallen? Or maybe one of the many yokai who don't approve of me will attack? Naruto thought as he rattled his brain. But no blood shall be spilled, that's good, right? But then a tan beauty? Meaning I'll get remarried? Yeah, right. If that's it, Odin, then I would like to rest up for the night, and then return home tomorrow. Naruto said as he stood up, back and shoulders feeling stiff. If you don't believe Propha's prophecies, then you'll be in for a shock. Mimir advised. It's better to believe them, because they haven't been wrong before. Meanwhile, Kyoto. Yasaka groaned in annoyance as she signed paperwork. How did Mama and Papa deal with this, she thought as she signed paper after paper after paper after paper after paper. It seemed to never end. Alright, Yasaka. Damamaru said as he heaved a new stack of papers onto Naruto's Yasaka's desk. Finish these and you will be done for the week. Yasaka blinked several times before she smiled stupidly, heavily feeling light-headed before she face-planted into the desk. Papa needs to teach me shadow clones. Yasaka whimpered. Countryside. A familiar group toiled away in the sun, working their small plot of land into suitable soil for their next harvest. Phew, this is working up a sweat. Kamatari stated as he wiped sweat off of his face. Hey, if you have time to talk, you can take the rocks over there and get rid of them. His sister Temari stated in an exhausted tone as she and Ibius the salamander use garden hose to soften the soil. Fine, fine. Kamatari groaned as he walked over and started to throw the rocks into the nearby valley, where the sound of the rocks hitting them echoed in said valley. Gozu. Temari shouted as she looked around for the new of their family, but couldn't see him. Gozu. Ibius looked around and could not feel Gozu's presence, but went still as he felt another being draw closer to them. He tapped Temari's arm frantically and sighed for the soon-to-be arrival. What's going on? Kamatari asked when he finished removing the stones. Before Ibius or Temari could inform him of their guest, a shadow appeared above them, growing bigger before the three moved and saw Gozu, now a slashed-up corpse. Kamatari and Temari's eyes widened in horror as Gozu's blood soaked into the earth as Ibius fell to his knees, silently screaming on the inside. Sorry for the bad news, but I found him on the side of the road, begging for help. A seductive female voice said, making them turn to see a cloaked woman. You! Kamatari shouted in anger, nearly lashing out as he shed tears. Did you do this? The woman in question smirked at his accusation. No. The woman said as she pulled back her hood to reveal her face and fox ears. But he did want a message for you. Temari put her hand on Ibius' shoulder, gripping it tightly as the salamander yokai grieved. What did he say? Temari demanded. He said the false emperor attacked me suddenly. Tell my siblings. And then he died. The woman replied as she pulled out a chunk of clothing and threw it at Kamatari, who caught it. His eyes widened as he recognized the scent. It was Naruto's scent. Who are you? And can you help us? Kamatari asked in anger as he glared at the woman. I am Azula, daughter of the captured Ozai. Azula introduced. And I can help you kill the false emperor. Relics of past life. Asgard. Naruto laughed as Fenrir the wolf licked his face, having jumped Naruto as he was leaving. Okay. Naruto laughed as he tried to get up, but Fenrir's giant paw kept him on his back. Fenrir, let me go. Fenrir ignored Naruto's pleas as he continued to lick Naruto's face, his tail wagging back and forth in excitement. Okay, that's enough, Fenrir. Tyr said as he put his hands on Fenrir's neck, gripping his fur tightly before pulling the wolf pup off of Naruto, soaked in saliva and smelling like dog breath. He sure likes you, Naruto. I know, I don't know why though. Naruto said as he wiped off all of the saliva. But he is a good boy. Fenrir smiled as Naruto proceeded to rub his head. Despite being a puppy, Fenrir was 10 feet in length, 4 feet in height. Fenrir. Fenrir looked over and stood up as Loki walked gracefully across the field, having returned from Midgard, and held an irritated look as Fenrir trotted over to him. Fenrir sat on his haunches, acting serious as Loki patted his head. Hey Tyr, who is that? Naruto asked in a whisper as he leaned in towards Tyr and covered his mouth. Oh, that's Loki. Fenrir's father. Tyr explained in a whisper as Loki and Fenrir proceeded to leave to Asgard's castle. He normally doesn't spend much time with Fenrir, so this is strange. Naruto nodded and looked at Loki. His eyes sharpened as he narrowed as Loki glanced darkly at him. Yeah, he is up to no good. Naruto thought as he grabbed his bag and prepared to go home. But before I go home. He entered the Bifrost temple and activated it. Odin said Svartalfheim is the land of the dwarves, right? Naruto thought as he input the location, hitting the mechanism. The temple lit up once again, glowing an earth green before the light columns sent him to Svartalfheim. He exited the temple and was surprised. Instead of an open realm, full of life and culture, all Naruto saw was cavern-like walls, the sounds of forges and tools striking metal and rock bouncing off said walls. The torches and forges giving off the sources of light. It smelled of smoke and was dark where there was no forge or torch. Hey! Naruto turned and saw a dwarf female. She was a plump woman, with red braided hair as she wore goggle-like glasses on her head and wore a mining outfit, fit with gloves and a pickaxe. Who are you? She demanded rudely as she pulled out a bottle of alcohol and took a heavy chug. It ain't really a safe place for tourists. I am Naruto, and I would like to talk to the best blacksmith. Naruto informed. The dwarf sneered at him before she finished her drink, throwing the empty bottle behind her as she belched. You want to talk to the Huldra brothers? She asked as she wiped her lips of any liquid. What's your reason? A commission. Naruto replied, not really liking her rude behavior. The dwarf scoffed and started to walk away. Follow me. She grunted in irritation. Well, come on. Don't want you to lose your fucking way down here. Naruto followed her. Astrid. She stated as she took a lantern and handed it to Naruto. What? Astrid. She stated again angrily as she turned. It's my name. You gave me yours, so I gave you mine. Oh, thank you. Don't need your gratitude. Astrid interrupted angrily. Now follow me. She is so damn rude. Naruto thought as he continued to follow Astrid. They passed many forges, all dwarves who were there looked like young children. Some had small beards, some had long beards going to the floor. Nearly all had them in braids. Some were round and fat, while the rest were thin. All of them, men and women, had muscles on their arms. The dwarven children ran around, unhindered or disturbed by the construction of Svartalfheim around them. This is a nice place. Naruto commented as he saw a workshop area, where the workers wore magnifying lenses as they worked on intricate jewelry pieces. Whatever. Astrid grunted as she turned left, to which Naruto followed. How come the ceiling is so high? Naruto asked as he took notice that he could stand perfectly straight, and his head was nowhere close to the ceiling. We made them this way in case the Aesir came a-knocking. Astrid replied. Now stop asking questions. Naruto frowned as the two of them delved further into the earth of Svartalfheim. Here. Astrid stated as she motioned toward the rightmost door, which had several hot pipes through the wall. The Huldra brothers are in there. She walked off, leaving Naruto alone as he approached the door. Explosion. God fucking damn it. Naruto caught a chunk of the wall flew out randomly as the explosion went off. He barged into the forge. Is everyone alright? Naruto shouted in a panic. Cough, cough, of course we aren't alright, you cocklump. As the smoke cleared, two dwarf males appeared. The room around them was a massive forge, huge smoke pipes leading out through the walls, and ceiling with workbenches and many tools strewn around. Lord Brock, must you insult a guest? One of them said. He was quite thin. He wore golden armor and thick red leather gloves on his hands. He wore an apron with various tools in them with a leather bag tied to his hip. He had short dull gray hair tied into a small ponytail to keep it pulled back, and he had a wispy beard and mustache. I'll insult whoever I want to Sindri. Brock snapped as he got up. Like Sindri, Brock wore gold armor, but his arms were exposed. His skin was a deep blue, he was bald, except some hair on the side of his head, and had a thick beard on his chin. Like Sindri, he wore an apron with black smithing tools in the pockets. Sindri sighed and turned to Naruto. Forgive his rudeness, Sindri apologized. We are the Huldra brothers, Sindri and Brock. How can we be of service today? Naruto gave a sigh of relief. Finally, someone who is nice. He thought as he extended his hand. I am Naruto, it is nice to meet you. Naruto greeted, expecting Sindri to take his hand to shake it. But Sindri backed away and looked disgusted. Yeah, you can put that away, he said in an apologetic tone. Brock laughed hard at this as he stepped up next to his brother, showing that he was ever so slightly shorter than Sindri. Don't worry about him, he is, what you call it? He said as he scratched his nuts and thought. Afraid of germs. Oh, I see. Naruto replied in confusion at the display. I am sorry, Sindri. Oh, it's no problem. Sindri said as he gave Naruto some water, being very careful to not touch Naruto's hand. Here, this should help with the dirt in the air. I know how it can make it hard to breathe. So, what can we help you with today? Well, I have a bizarre request, Naruto said as he drank the water. Sindri and Brock leaned in with interest. What kind of request? Brock demanded. Mt. Olympus. In his forge, Hephaestus wiped his forehead of sweat. He hummed and thought as he held the weapon in his hand to examine it. Well, it is good enough. But I think I'll shelve it and come back to it another time. He indeed shelved the weapon on his to-be-continued shelf and cracked his neck. Ah, that felt good. He stood up, using a crutch to help him stand due to his feeble leg. I guess I'll go get some lunch. I wonder if Aphrodite is willing to eat with me. She better not be fucking Ares again. Whoa, did not want to hear that one. Hephaestus whipped around and saw Naruto, Brock, and Sindri. Oh, it's you, Naruto. Hephaestus sighed as he cupped his chest. You scared me. Sorry about that, old friend. Naruto apologized. Hurry up. Brock urged rudely. I want to get to making these weapons. I want to test my skills. And these tools. Sindri said in fascination as he saw how neat and organized Hephaestus kept his forge. They are so different from the ones we use in Svartalfheim. Hephaestus was intrigued by the new arrivals. I am Hephaestus, god of blacksmithing and the forge. Hephaestus introduced as he sat down. The Huldra brothers, Brock and Sindri. Sindri introduced politely. Yeah, happy greetings. Let's get to weapon making. Brock stated as he had a fire in his eyes as he held up his hammer. I am rearing to go. Hephaestus quirked an eyebrow as he turned to Naruto. Who lit a fire under his ass? I did. Naruto explained. Because I had an idea. Oh, and what is this idea? Hephaestus asked in interest. I want. Naruto started to say before he was jumped from the back, slender arms and legs snaking around his arms and waist. Naruto Aphrodite screamed in happiness as she held herself into Naruto's back. I got you. A puff of smoke revealed the Naruto she was holding as a log. What are you doing here? Naruto asked as he stood behind her, ready to react to any trick she might pull. We are busy with work, so get out of here. Brock was drooling from Aphrodite's beauty and Sindri blushed, feeling uncomfortable, as she stood up. Why am I here? I am here to see you, Aphrodite seductively said as she carried herself with grace. Naruto pinched his nose as he sighed in irritation. Now. Aphrodite thought as she crouched and lunged for Naruto, only to get grabbed by her shoulder by Naruto. Without any trouble, Naruto spun on his feet and hurled Aphrodite through the door, shattering the wood, and she went flying off of Mt. Olympus down to the base of the mountain. Damn, that was hot. Brock acknowledged. Oh, Odin, you are so nasty. Sindri sighed in disgust at Brock's behavior. Well, besides my wife's interference, why are you here? Hephaestus asked as he set up a new door. I want to make 7 swords, Naruto stated calmly as he pulled out a scroll. Hours later, Kyoto. Yasaka, I'm home, Naruto called out as he entered the compound. Yasaka? He didn't hear any response. Where is she? Naruto thought as he put his bag down and walked to her room. Knock, knock. Yasaka. Naruto called out again as he knocked on her door. No response. He opened her door. Oh, she isn't here, he thought as he took stock of that fact. His face softened as he saw the Tamamo doll on her folded futon. Naruto entered and sat on the ground, picking the toy up and holding it in his hands. I was never able to find out who or what made you, he thought as he held the doll. But I thank whoever made you because you helped Yasaka through her grieving. He smiled a bit more before he put the doll back and left Yasaka's room, lest she hit him for being in her room. I wonder what I should get her for her birthday, Naruto questioned as he walked to his room, wanting to take a nap before lunch. Only to stop near his office when he heard a groan. Naruto entered his office and started laughing, collapsing as he gripped his ribs tightly as his lungs expelled the oxygen in them. Yasaka was hunched over his desk, eyes sunk and skin clinging to her bones as she mumbled incoherently as she signed paperwork as if on autopilot. Her ears were drooped and her tails hung limply behind her. Yasaka, Naruto said as he got up and walked to her, putting his hand on her back. Her ears twitched a few times before she slowly and tiredly turned her head. Life returned to her eyes as she recognized Naruto, who was snickering at her. Papa! Yasaka shouted happily as she hugged him. I missed you, thank the gods I won't have to do any more paperwork. Naruto laughed as she returned to her normal self. Well, how did it go? Naruto asked as he was gone for over 10 days. I can say that I don't envy your position, nor do I look forward to taking this responsibility, Yasaka replied as she shuddered. Though I do know when I learn shadow clones it will be easier. You will get good enough to not even need shadow clones, like I did, Naruto informed as he ruffled her hair. Now, let's go get some lunch. Okay. Naruto and Yasaka sat in their kitchen, slurping up ramen. Oh. Yasaka and Naruto cheered in happiness with stars in their eyes. Ramen is the food of the gods. They continued to eat, making Toshimi and Damamaru smile as they ate their food. So, how did the negotiations with the Yasser go? Toshimi asked as she looked at Naruto. It went well, Naruto replied, cheeks like a squirrel as they were stuffed with noodles. They were really nice and respectful. Except a few dwarves I had the pleasure of meeting. You met some dwarves? Yasaka asked in curiosity. Yeah, I did when I went to Spartalfame, Naruto informed before he swallowed, turning red in the face as he could barely do it before he was able to get the food into his stomach. Because I needed them and Hephaestus's help with a special project. What is the project? Damamaru asked as he was interested. Naruto smirked as he pulled out a sealing scroll and opened it. He rolled 7 feet of paper out, revealing 7 different seals with a different kanji within the space. Something from my past that me and some friends thought of remaking, Naruto stated cryptically as he touched one seal. The seal glowed brightly, the kanji vanishing as a large sword appeared. Whoa, a sword? Yasaka said in sarcastic awe, not impressed with the sword.
This, Yasaka, is the Kubikiriboko. Naruto stated fondly as he held it in his hands.
It was a giant sword with a butcher knife-like appearance, with a circular cutout near the tip and a semicircle near the guard. It's just a hunk of metal, Yasaka replied with a shrug. You won't understand, so to explain why, I had the Hulder brothers and Hephaestus help me make these 7 swords, Naruto explained as he sealed Kubikiribocho away. I want to establish a specialized force called the 7 Swordsmen of Kyoto. Now this, quirked eyebrows of interest. Spring, 1369. Yasaka, age 17, looked into her burned hand. I did it? She thought as she held up her hand, where a completed Rasengan spun. Congratulations, Yasaka. Naruto said happily as he clapped his hands. You really decided to take your time learning the Rasengan, but still did better than pervy Sage and Dad. Yasaka thrusted the Rasengan into a tree, destroying it as she carved into the wood, making her smile brighter as she ended the jutsu. It took me over 7 months, but I learned it without shadow clones. She declared before she collapsed, being caught by Naruto. So, you going to teach it to me now? Sure. Naruto chuckled as he hugged her, kissing her head as he sat down, pulling his teen daughter into his lap. It's quite simple, really. But you might have some trouble. How so? You make them without much effort. Yasaka pointed out as she remembered all the times Naruto made shadow clones throughout her life, where the clones just appeared beside him at any moment. Well, let me explain how you do this. Naruto stated, nudging Yasaka out of his lap so she could watch what he did. Yasaka watched Naruto make the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu. Now, it isn't as simple as weaving a hand sign for an elemental jutsu. Naruto explained as he summoned a single clone, which was half as strong as Naruto himself. When I learned this, I had a large amount of chakra and no control. I learned this before I started training my chakra control with tree climbing and water walking. Oh really? That doesn't seem so bad since I know how to control my chakra, unlike you, Papa. Yasaka taunted with a shit-eating smirk, which Naruto ignored. Okay, I am a master of making shadow clones, but since you are learning it, you must use a hand sign. Naruto said as he made a cross-like hand sign with his index and middle fingers. Yasaka copied him. Now, what you have to do is split your chakra in half, equally and evenly. Naruto explained. Then take the chakra and expel it from within you, and when you do, imagine it take the shape of your body, and then it happens. You get the benefits of the clones. That seems hard. Yasaka said with a deadpan. It is. But I believe you can do it. Naruto said as he looked at her. From what I can feel, you could make about 20 clones safely. Yasaka looked at her hands, still in the hand sign position. Worth a shot. Yasaka thought with a shrug as she closed her eyes. Divide my chakra evenly and equally, then expel it with the thought of it taking the form of me. Naruto felt Yasaka's chakra divide. Good, now send half of that into the fingers that make the hand sign. Naruto instructed calmly. Yasaka did as asked with no visual showing she heard him from how hard she was concentrating. Now expel it. Yasaka started to sweat as she tried to expel her chakra to form the shadow clone. She then felt what might have been an implosion run through her body as she forced the chakra out of her body before it returned and merged back with her chakra. Fuck. Yasaka shouted as her eyes opened and looked at her hands, seeing that they were shaking and the feelings in her fingers were starting to fade on top of the cuts and scrapes. It's what happens when one is starting. Naruto said as he took her hands in his, calming her down and drawing her attention to him. This will happen until you are able to make a clone this way. Are you sure you want to continue, Yasaka? Yasaka looked into his worried eyes. He went through this? And he said his chakra was bigger than mine and so the rebound would be much worse. Yasaka thought in realization, her hands shaking from the immense pain added from the previous injuries from her Rasengan training. Yes. Yasaka stated shakily as she moved her hands from his, putting them back into the cross hand sign. I will continue until I am able to make these clones. End of the day. Yasaka gasped in pain, her hands bleeding as she held a big smile on her face. I did it, Papa. She declared proudly. Naruto smiled with pride as he clapped. Yes, you did, now let's get you healed and bathed. He stated as he got up and took her in his arms. Yasaka purred when he kissed her forehead. Love you, Papa. She mumbled tiredly before she yawned. Love you too, Yasaka. Naruto replied. Flashback. For the child whose palms bear the sun and moon, life as you know shall change. MOP stated in an eerie tone. Enemies thought defeated shall arise, your kingdom shall live, blood not spilled. In turn, a tan beauty awaits at the end of the road. End flashback. Naruto became forlorn as he entered the compound, the hot spring being his destination. This prophecy does have me a bit worried. He thought in paranoia. I don't want my baby to go through a war at all. Countryside. Come on, we can go right now. Kamatari shouted at Azula, who was unfazed by his outburst. We have an army assembled, so why should we still wait? Azula pursed her lips into a smirk. Isn't it obvious? She asked as she walked up to him, making him step back. We can't go in blindly. If we do, defeat is most likely our outcome. We need to wait and find his weakness. Yeah, like what? Tamari stated sarcastically as she sharpened her scythe. We have fought him, so we know his strength firsthand. Tisk, tisk. Azula sked as she waved her finger. You forget, I have someone on the inside, listening into all events going on in the capital. Yeah, who? Tamari questioned. Azula's smirk got bigger. My father, Ozai. He is still alive in the dungeon, relaying messages to me. Azula replied with her hand on her chest. And recently, he got information on some weapons we can use. Tamari and Kamatari were amused. What kind of weapons? Kamatari asked. The false emperor killing type of weapons. 7 in total. Azula replied deviously. All we need to do is steal them, and then our chances of victory shall increase exponentially. Civil War. Training ground. Naruto and Damamaru stood before 6 panting yokai on the ground, 6 katana on the ground around them. I didn't expect it to go by so fast. Naruto said with a sweat drop on his head. How long do you think they and the others had been fighting in this tournament? Let's see. Damamaru said as he held up his webbed hands. We started this yesterday, and they fought all night, and it's roughly 2 in the afternoon. So, I say, 32 hours, give or take. Damn. Naruto responded in surprise. The Biju rolled their eyes. Idiot. Stupid. Moron. Dumbass. Ignoramus. Nincompoop. Simpleton. Jackass. Retard. Naruto deadpanned before he ignored them as he walked up to the 6 remaining fighters. Congratulations, you 6. Naruto said as he applauded with a bright smile. I'm happy that we were able to settle this quickly. You are truly the best 7. 7, one of the 2 women gasped. There are 6 of us? Naruto turned to Damamaru. From where I am standing, I count 7. Damamaru blinked, looked to his left, then his right, before stupidly pointing to himself. Yep. Naruto declared he motioned for his friend to join them. Damamaru stepped forward and joined his new comrades before Naruto, who looked like a proud dad as he looked at the 7. I, Naruto Uzumaki, declare you 7 the 7 swordsmen of Kyoto. Naruto stated clearly and professionally. Now, let's get our introductions out of the way. I am Damamaru, and I am a Kappa. Damamaru started as he bowed. It is a pleasure to meet you all. What's up, I am Yoruchi Shihoin. Yoruchi stated childishly as her hand shot up. I am a Nekisha, and it's awesome to meet you guys. Yoruchi was a young Nekisha with short purple hair, ears, and a single tail. She had tan skin that was complemented with golden eyes. She wore a shabby shihakusho that was dirty. I am Zuko. Zuko introduced. I am a kitsune. I am honored to meet you all. Zuko, like Yoruchi, was a young kitsune. His tail and ears matched his dark brown hair. He wore a red, brown, and dark yellow kimono outfit with the pants tucked into boots. The most standout feature this young man held was the massive scar on his face, covering his left eye, making it look like he was squinting.
Ensimmäinen Kenpachi Tsaraki. Kenpachista.
True to his statement, Kenpachi was huge, towering over Naruto. He had normal skin, though he had horns on his forehead, next to a scar going down the left side of his face, signaling a life of combat. His shihakusho was in tatters, and he wore an eye patch over his right eye. He had long hair spiked up with tiny bells on the tips. I am Bankatsu. Bankatsu stated cockily. I am a leopard, and I say it is an honor for you to be in my presence. Bankatsu's cocky, superior attitude fit his royal status, and was shown with how he carried himself and his clothes. He had a tattoo of a four-pointed star on his forehead. He wears a white hakama with a matching kosode that has a blue patch on his shoulder. He also wears a type of iron armor over these clothes along with a shoulder guard attached. This is attached to the rest of the armor by a strip of red cloth. He had a long mane of silver white hair, and had 2 dog ears. He had golden eyes and he wore a red outfit and was barefoot. Don't feel unwelcome here, Inuyasha. The second female said as she turned to everyone else. I am Urza Scarlet. I am a kitsune, and it is nice to meet you. Urza had long red hair, ears and tail, showing she was quite young like the rest of the yokai, except Kenpachi, who seemed to be a fully mature Oni. She wore European armor that was clasped to her body. It is a pleasure to meet all of you, Naruto said as he shook all of their hands. Now, the hard part. Hard part? Yoruchi asked with a tilt of her head. Meanwhile, within his cell, Ozai meditated quietly. His ears twitching at minute sounds one could hear miles away. So, these swords are now passed out. He thought as he listened carefully to the conversation Naruto was having. I must inform Azula of this. I am surprised that Zuko is among them. A sinister smirk crept onto his face. That failure might as well be useful somehow. That night, Naruto yawned as he, Kenpachi, Damamaru, Inuyasha, Bankatsu, and Zuko relaxed in the open-air hot springs. You tired, Lord Naruto? Zuko asked in concern as he sat next to the Emperor. Yeah, mentally more than physically. Naruto replied as he looked up into the sky, seeing the stars. Just a lot of stuff cramming into my head. Okay, sir. Zuko replied sincerely. No need to kiss his ass, kid. Kenpachi grunted as he sat at the edge, his scarred body on full display, save his waist area thanks to a towel wrapped around it. He may be our leader, but that doesn't mean we need to lick the shit off his boots. How vulgar. Damamaru stated in irritation as he glanced at Kenpachi. I don't think you should even be here, you barbarian. Kenpachi smiled at this, standing up above the kappa. You can say anything you want, but words are empty air. Kenpachi boasted as he could barely contain his excitement. So, until you defeat me, you can't issue out orders. As Damamaru started to stand, Naruto held his hand up, stopping him. That may be true, Kenpachi. Naruto replied calmly, but very seriously. But Damamaru is the one I chose to lead the swordsmen, so if you have a problem with that, then you can talk to me. Naruto entered sage mode instantly, flaring his power. Do we have an understanding? Naruto asked as he stood up. Kenpachi's eyes were wide open and his mouth was smiling like a child given a toy. "Oh, I have some choice words for you," he stated gleefully as his own power emanated from him, taking the form of laughing skulls. They are matched," Bankatsu noted as he sat on the sidelines. Inuyasha, with his hair up, grunted in irritation at the display of raw power. "Fuck," he thought as he mentally cursed himself. "I have a long way to go before I can be on their level." On the opposite side, Yasaka was bathing with Urza and Yoruchi. Papa seems to be having fun," Yasaka mumbled as she noticed the subtle playfulness in Naruto's chakra. "Your dad sure is strong," Yoruchi mentioned as she scrubbed Urza's back. "Why isn't he remarried?" "That is true," Urza said as she washed her hair. "Why isn't the emperor with another woman?" Yasaka took a few seconds to think. "I don't know why Papa doesn't remarry," Yasaka answered. "It is just something that he will do when he is ready." Yoruchi mumbled with a disapproving face. "That is dumb. No way that man couldn't have any woman with his position and power." Yasaka laughed at this as Urza was appalled. "You would think that, but Papa isn't that kind of person," Yasaka replied as she stretched in the hot spring. "You'll find out when you guys start your training." Yasaka smirked evilly. "Meaning you will go through hell like Akasha and I did," she thought as she mentally cackled. Meanwhile, Wallachia. Akasha sneezed. "You okay, dear?" Lisa asked her granddaughter as she knitted her a scarf. "Yes, I am fine," Akasha replied as she rubbed her nose. "Someone, most likely Yasaka, must be talking about me." Lisa sighed in relief, starting to get up, only to falter and collapse back into her chair. "Granny?" Akasha said in panic as she shot up and walked to Lisa's side. "Are you okay?" Lisa smiled and waved Akasha's concerns away. "I am fine, my dear," Lisa replied with a chuckle. "Just lost my balance a bit, nothing serious." Akasha sighed in relief, blinking when she felt Lisa's hand on her head. "Why don't you go check in on your grandfather? He might want to see his precious granddaughter," Lisa urged. "Okay, Granny," Akasha said before she turned and walked away, stopping at the door and glancing back at Lisa. "Granny has started getting thin. This can't be a simple loss of balance. As Akasha left the room, Lisa's smile was replaced slowly with a pained expression. Kyoto, countryside. Azula, Temari, Kamatari, and Ibue stood before their army. "My fellow rebels," Azula addressed with her arms out, motioning to all of them. "The time is now. We shall take the 7 swords from their users and turn their blades on the false emperor. We shall take back our homes, and instate a rightful ruler to the throne. It isn't that human, nor is it that Hanayo spawn of a daughter." Cheers of agreement echoed through the crowd. "Fuck the human. His daughter is unfit to be leader. He needs to die for the deaths of Lady Tamamo, Emperor Iroh, and Empress Miko. His head shall be on a pike." Azula smirked evilly. "Tomorrow, his head shall roll, his blood shall stain the earth, and his corpse shall be displayed to all he allied with to show that we yokai don't need them," Azula declared, fist up in the air. "We are the revolutionaries who shall set things right." As the crowd cheered, Temari and Kamatari stayed silent. "We are doing this to avenge Gozu," Temari chanted unsurely as she clutched her scythe. "Gozu's death is on that bastard's hands." Kamatari shook himself, trying to shake off any and all doubt. "Why won't it go away?" he thought as he grit his teeth in frustration. As the army prepared themselves for the next day, Ophis watched from above. "Ashura is in for quite the fight," Ophis thought, before shrugging. "No biggie. He can defeat them all easily." However, Ophis could not take solace in this fact. Doubt had crept into her mind. What if they have a plan? Ophis thought as she chewed on her thumbnail in concern. Next day, training ground. This is fucking stupid. Kenpachi stated as he and the other 6 swordsmen stood before a large horde of night creatures, thanks to Hector the Forge Master making them for the group, waiting patiently for their deaths. These things won't even be a warm-up. And why should we learn this hidden misjutsu and silent killing method? That takes the fun out of fighting. Damamaru sighed in annoyance. I have my work cut out for me. Damamaru thought as he pulled out 7 scrolls, each bearing a name of the 7 swords. Today we are going to be slaying the night creatures. Naruto made these scrolls to help you learn how best to use your swords. Damamaru handed the scrolls out, Urza eagerly opening hers and reading its contents. Inuyasha and Bankatsu opened theirs in annoyance but read it. Kenpachi begrudgingly opened his. Yoruchi read hers in fascination. Zuko sat down as he read, intrigued with the tactics his weapon provided. As Damamaru opened his, he stopped and turned, a shocked expression on his face. What the hell, he thought as he felt hundreds of yokai chakra signatures closing in. Training is postponed, we have to fight real enemies. Council room. An army? Naruto asked as he faced the messenger yokai, who happened to be a falcon. Yes, my lord. They said as they bowed. A massive rebel army. I was able to get in and overhear their plans. They plan on taking Princess Yusaka hostage to force your hand. Naruto went still as he turned and faced Yusaka, who was with Naruto to watch and see how the council meetings went. They want to hurt my family. Naruto thought as he became serious. I won't let that happen. Were you able to discern their reason for creating this army? A council member asked. The messenger sadly looked at Naruto, choosing his words carefully. They seek the death of Lord Naruto. The council went into an uproar, claiming they need to send their own army in before Naruto rose his hand, silencing them. I know this is concerning, but don't fear. Naruto stated calmly. Me and the 7 ninja swordsmen shall take care of this. However, I have an announcement to make. An announcement? Now of all times? You need to get going or else the rebels will get to close. Naruto ignored them as he approached Yusaka. Naruto's expression softened and he wore a sad smile. I know this should be under better circumstances, but I guess now is as good of a time as ever. Naruto said as he removed the white lotus pin from his Hayori. From this moment forth, Yusaka Uzumaki, you are the Empress of Kyoto. He placed the pin on the shocked Yusaka's clothes. I'm proud of you. Naruto said as he summoned his rapier, his treasured sword given to him by Adrian. Please hold on to this for me until I come back. Yusaka held the sword, before dropping it, letting it clatter on the ground as she grabbed Naruto's sleeve. You are planning on going to fight them, and expect to die. Yusaka shouted in a panic, making the council start to panic. No, you can't go. I forbid it. Her heart felt tight, each beat of her heart felt painful and labored as her throat dried and became scratchy. Naruto smiled sadly and cupped his daughter's cheek, making her ears and tail droop. It's going to be okay. Naruto replied as he kissed her forehead. I love you, Yusaka. Naruto's Byakugan activated and he struck 4 of her chakra points, making Yusaka collapse. Her mobility will return in 20 minutes. Naruto stated as he turned to the council as he ended his Byakugan. Please, protect your empress. Of course, Lord Naruto. They replied as they bowed. It was an honor working with you. Naruto turned, his Hayori whipping behind him as he walked out of the room. Meanwhile, Ozai opened his eyes as the door leading to his cell opened, revealing Azula. So, you came, Azula? Ozai said with interest. Good. Now, hurry and release me. I need to stretch my muscles before we kill the Emperor. Of course, father. Azula said as she opened his cell door and walked towards him, keys on her hand before she stopped. Azula raised her hand holding the keys, before she dropped them. Ozai could only watch in slow motion as Azula arched her arms in a circular motion, lighting crackling to life at her sharp fingertips, before she launched it, striking Ozai dead before the keys clattered to the ground. Sorry, father. Azula spat before actually spitting on Ozai's corpse. But there is only room for one ruler, and that is me, Empress Azula. With her mission complete, Azula left the prison, returning to her army. When she returned, Azula was greeted by her army fighting 7 people wielding unique swords. So, these are the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kyoto. Azula thought with an amused smirk. And Zuzu is among them. Azula watched as Zuko brought Hiramakari the twins' word down onto an opponent before he jumped back, kicking the air to send waves of fire to burn the surrounding yokai, landing on his feet before he split Hiramakari into 2, carrying each one in one hand with ease. I don't have time to use Hiramakari as intended, but for now this will have to do. Zuko thought as he used the flat end of one of his swords to block an attack. Gaia. AAGH. This fucking hurts. A yokai yelled as he was yanked into the air with thin metal wire and strung up in a tree with his fellow yokai. Of course, it hurts. Urza stated as she held Nuabari the sewing needle in one hand with the other holding the wire. Because I crucified you. She tugged the wire, killing the yokai she sewed before they hit the ground, their blood staining the grass. It's not good enough. Urza mentally scolded as she evaded her next opponent. I wasn't able to do it like the scroll explained. Boom! Exclamation point. Kenpachi laughed as his sword exploded again, the scroll that held the blade of Shibuki the blast sword unfurled and replaced the explosive tags with new ones. This sword is amazing. Humph, what a barbarian! Bankatsu stated as he struck an enemy's shield with the axe portion of his sword. Cute, but no defense can stop me. He raised the hammer and struck the back of Kabutawari, breaking through the yokai's defenses and killing them. Ha, you're one to talk, Bankatsu. Inuyasha insulted as he cut down his opponent, his blade soaking their blood as it repaired itself. Man, this sword is deserving of the title it has. Inuyasha brandished Kubikiribocho with ease as he sliced into his next opponent. Lightning cracked as yokai were cut down as Yoruchi came to a halt. Damn, these swords are sharp. She stated gleefully as she looked at her swords, Kiba the lightning fangs, as her opponents collapsed into pools of blood. Distracted, many yokai lunged at the Nekishu, only to get shredded by Samahata the shark skin. Don't let your guard down, Yoruchi. Damamaru shouted as he felt Samahata devour the chakra of the ones it struck, making it happily gargle in content. Oh, sorry. Yoruchi proclaimed as she reactivated the lightning to enhance her speed and the sword's cutting edge. Azula smirked as she watched the corpses pile up. I guess I can make my appearance now. Azula thought as she went to make her move. Before Naruto appeared in the center of the rebel army and the 7 ninja swordsmen. So, you finally arrived, false emperor. Naruto turned and saw Kamatari and Temari. I see. You two are the leaders of this army. Naruto replied as he faced them as his eyes became that of a toad as nature lent their power to him. You and your friends are trespassing, so I'll give you this warning, get out now. Sacrifices for a better, safer future. Compound. Get Akasha. Yasaka ordered as she lay on the ground. Get her now. Yes, Lady Yasaka. Some of the council ran off to call Akasha in Wallachia, as the rest did their best to undo the paralyzing effect on Yasaka. I think we need to give her chakra to make the paths open again. One said as they could feel the blocked paths due to the lack of chakra flow. It's worth a try. Agreed. The rest said as all of them put their hands on Yasaka's shoulder and simultaneously inject their chakra inside of her, flooding her system with their chakra and opening her chakra paths, undoing the paralysis. "Yasaka, what is going on?" Akasha asked as she entered the room. "We need to go save Papa," Yasaka stated as she got up, grabbing Naruto's sword and putting it in her obi to carry it. "Come on, follow me." Akasha nodded and the two took off, ignoring the cries of the council. Meanwhile, "I see. You two are the leaders of this army. Naruto replied as he faced them as his eyes became that of a toad as nature lent their power to him. "You and your friends are trespassing, so I'll give you this warning, get out now." Azula cackled at Naruto's statement. As if our forces would back down because of a threat made by a weak, pathetic human. Azula stated as she ignored the bloodshed around her caused by the 7 ninja swordsmen. "We will fight until the very end, even if our blood must soak into the dirt." An echoing cheer from all the surviving members of the rebels resounded far and wide throughout the valley, making Naruto sigh in sadness. Azula smirked as she gathered nature energy within herself, creating Sage Mode. The lower parts of her cheeks were covered in a red marking resembling flames as a small fire-shaped mark appeared on her head. "Now we can," Azula started to say before a large battle fan was held out before her, making her narrow her eyes as she glanced at Kamatari and Temari's backs. "And what do you think you're doing?" "This fight is ours, Azula," Temari stated shakily. "He killed Gozu, so it is our responsibility to kill him ourselves," Kamatari finished as he opened his fan. Naruto's eyes narrowed as Azula shrugged and stepped back. "So, you are using them?" Naruto muttered as he could feel massive negativity wafting off of Azula. "Saying your last words?" Kamatari asked as he and Temari entered their sage modes. Naruto didn't say anything, not entering a fighting pose as Temari drew one of her scythes. "What's wrong? Afraid of killing us?" Kamatari spat as he prepared himself to fight with Temari. "It was not an issue when you killed Gozu, but it is with us?" Naruto looked at them, his face soft and holding a sad empathy and disappointment. "Is this all because you hate humans?" Naruto asked. Kamatari and Temari were confused. "Of course, it is," Temari shouted as she gripped her weapon. "Our parents, and now our brother is dead because of humans." "And are you sure that by killing me?" Naruto stated as he took one step forward, making them feel pressure from the power of nature he had. "Will take away your hatred? Are you sure your nightmares will vanish with my death?" Temari faltered, eyes wide as she felt her heart race in a panic. "Oh, of course," she said as she shook. We know it will take our hatred away," Kamatari declared. Naruto stopped 4 feet before them and grabbed Temari's scythe, putting it around his neck, glaring at them with an intensity that sent chills down their spines. "If you are so sure, then kill me," Naruto shouted, expelling his sage mode outward, causing it to end, hitting all of the swordsmen and the rebel army members, making them stop and watch. "I'll shoulder all of your hatred. I will take it all away. So, kill me." Kamatari gripped the scythe with Temari, both of them shaking as they frantically thought about killing Naruto. "Will it take away the nightmares? Will my anger vanish if he dies? Will I be able to move on after this?" The siblings generally thought as their throats became parched and scratchy, eyes became watery as they could hear their hearts beat loudly in their ears. Slowly, their fingers released the scythe, the weapon dropping to the ground with a dull thud. I can't." Temari shuddered as she collapsed. "I can't." Kamatari could barely stand, taking a knee as he gasped for air. Naruto sighed in relief. Damn, he stopped this whole fight with words alone. Kenpachi groaned in aggression, Shibuki tapping his shoulder. "Well, only a few people died, so that is a plus," Inuyasha stated with a sigh of relief as he helped Yoruichi stand. "Thanks, I didn't expect that last guy to get the jump on me." She chuckled in pain, her right hand gripping her 2 swords. Urza stood beside Bankatsu and Damamaru, all of them putting their swords aside and helping some of the rebels. Zuko, however, glared at Azula, who seemed unfazed by what had happened. His eyes widened when he saw her enter fighting stance, index fingers extended with lightning arching around them. "Get down!" he shouted as he jumped before Naruto, arms out to protect Naruto, Temari, and Kamatari. "Don't worry," Naruto said as he appeared before Zuko, Rinne Sharingan open as he held out his hand. "I got this, Zuko." As the lightning struck his hand, it was absorbed, making Azula smirk. Naruto lurched, eyes widening. He gasped, blood gushing out onto Azula's arm as she impaled him, her entire right fist in his chest cavity gripping his heart, feeling its pulse between her fingers. "Good job, Zuzu, you did your part as distraction perfectly," Azula stated with a cocky laugh as she squeezed Naruto's heart, making him grunt in pain. "What?" the rest of the swordsmen shouted as Zuko looked shocked. "Wait. No, I am not," Zuko said in a panic before Naruto's cry of pain silenced everyone. "What do you want?" he stated before he slumped over, his hearing starting to fade as his eyes started to feel heavy. "So, this is what a slow and painful death is like? Now, I, Azula, am the Empress," Azula stated before she stopped, glancing around Naruto's chest. "Where is it? Where is the white lotus pin? Where is it?" Naruto slowly smirked in defiance with the last amount of his strength, victory in his eyes as he laughed in Azula's face. "Where?" he gasped weakly, coming out a gargled whisper. "The true Empress." Azula's eyes widened as she connected the dots. Her fingers gripped his heart. Exclamation point. Naruto screamed as his back started to glow. "Papa Aya." Naruto could not turn, but knew Yasaka and Akasha were there, being stopped by Urza and Damamaru. "Why, Yasa?" Naruto started to speak before his back began to become malleable as blue fire burst from his back, shooting outward as it set his clothes ablaze. Yasaka, Akasha, Damamaru, Kenpachi, Inuyasha, Bankatsu, Yoruchi, Urza, and Zuko watched as Naruto's body was burned, the bones becoming ash in a pile of bubbling fat, black smoke and the heavy smell of burned flesh spread through the large group. Azula gasped in rage as she turned her gaze to Yasaka. "So, the princess is here," she said before she noticed the white lotus pin. "Oh sorry, I meant the Empress is here." Akasha and Yasaka's worlds went black and white. "Papa," Yasaka thought as her life flashed before her eyes. Every memory with Naruto, every conversation, every moment, every argument. "Uncle," Akasha thought as she couldn't believe what she saw. Impossible. She was hyperventilating as she looked at the remains, or lack thereof, before Azula and Zuko. "Stay back," Zuko shouted as he held Hiramakari between him and his sister. "Cute, but I have no time for you, Zuzu," Azula stated as she fixated on the pin stationed on Yasaka's chest. Zuko gave a battle cry, tears in his eyes as he swung his sword. "Damn it. He died protecting me," Zuko thought in anguish, Azula avoiding Hiramakari's blade and punching Zuko in the stomach, sending him flying into a tree. "Damn it, damn it, damn it." He hit the ground, his sword dozens of feet away from him. "Princess?" Damamaru called out as he saw Yasaka's face. "Don't, you aren't trained yet." Disbelief, sadness, and unconscious acceptance showed on her tear-covered face, as she subconsciously started to pull in nature energy. Her hair broke free of its binding, letting it flow in the air as the earth started to shake and crack beneath her feet as tribal markings partially appeared on her face, arms, hands, legs and feet. Amateur, absorbing that much nature energy is bad. Azula started to say before her face got grabbed by Yasaka. Her feet were whipped off the ground as she was spun around 3 times before being thrown into the air. Damn. Getting her bearings straight, Azula produced flames at her feet and hands, stabilizing her midair, and allowing her to project herself forward with her blue flames. A pink blur appeared beside her before she was elbowed into the ground by a tearful Akasha. "You bitch!" The vampire princess cried out with her fangs bare to see as she punched Azula. "How dare you!" Azula grunted, a pillar of flames pushing Akasha away. Yasaka broke through the fire, parts of her kimono burning in the process, as she ignored the burn injuries she sustained, grabbing onto Azula's arms and neck. "Shit, she is fucking crazy!" Azula shouted before Yasaka sank her teeth into the kitsune's shoulder. Yeah. Azula thrashed around before she raised her hand, posed to impale Yasaka. Hiya! Azula's arm stump sprayed blood across the ground and Yasaka, Inuyasha's feet touching the ground before her severed arm did, Kubikiribocho soaked in her blood. What did you do to me? Azula screamed in pain as she kneed Yasaka off of her, jumping several feet away, her eyes wide as she was getting backed into the metaphorical corner. She saw a massive shadow behind her, jumping out of the way before a massive explosion pushed her off balance. Damn, in my rage, I missed. Kenpachi stated angrily at himself as he lifted Shibuki off the ground. Damn, Oni nearly killed me. Azula thought before she avoided Bankatsu and Urza by jumping into the air, lightning cracking around her remaining hand. Just Iupians. She shot her lightning, only to be blocked by Samahata and Damamaru, who devoured the lightning chakra and absorbed it into his body. You aren't taking anyone else today, Damamaru declared as he wept for the loss of his friend. Azula landed on the ground, outnumbered, tired, and bleeding heavily. I can win. I can win. She mentally chanted as she lost more blood. My dream is nearly in my grasp. I can win as long as I get that pin. Azula turned back to Yasaka, who was being held back by Akasha. Yasaka, calm. Akasha gasped tearfully, just wanting to let loose herself as she saw the woman who took Naruto's life. Calm down. Yasaka's eyes were no longer gold-yellow, but a vibrant red that resembled an animal who had snapped. Akasha relented, letting Yasaka go due to a lack of will and the desire to see Azula die. Yasaka raised her arm, hand open as she created a Rasengan. Azula kicked the air 4 times, sending waves of fire towards the injured Empress. Yasaka roared as she thrust the Rasengan into the flames, causing them to contort to its spin and dissipate.
Azula grunted in pain. Her vision blurning before she ducked under Yasaka's Rasengan strike.
Using her only hand to hold herself up, Azula spun around and tripped Yasaka. Go to hell! Azula shouted as she jabbed Yasaka in the stomach at point blank with lightning. The concentrated plasma shot through Yasaka, burning her further. Yasaka! No, not her too! Damamaru mentally shouted as he couldn't bear to see Yasaka die as well. I win! Azula declared as she hit the ground. An unheard, yet very familiar voice chuckled. We shall see about that. Nature's dark side walked past Azula, umbrella under his arm, moving his hat with one hand as he snapped his fingers. Azula, meanwhile, attempted to turn to the others, only to get grabbed by Yasaka. Just diarrhea. Azula started to say before she was shocked stupid before getting headbutted, nose broken, and a few teeth cracked, being grabbed to keep her from moving. Exclamation point. Yasaka roared as the markings on her body were more detailed than before, her eyes completely red. Oh shit. Everyone thought before Yasaka raised her hand again, creating a second Rasengan. No, stop. Azula shouted as she tried to break Yasaka's grip. Stop. This isn't how it was supposed to go. Yasaka slammed the Rasengan into Azula's chest, the double-enhanced Rasengan ground through her chest, killing her instantly. Yasaka let Azula go, her body limply hitting the ground. Her anger wasn't stemmed. Her anger grew. The markings on her body darkened and thickened, making nature laugh maniacally as it felt like it had won. A hand gripped her wrist. Yasaka snapped her head and saw Akasha, wincing in emotional and physical pain as her hand started to burn from the chakra oozing from her body. Yasaka, she stated in a cracked, yet calm voice. It's okay. It's over. Let's go home. Yasaka took many gasps, her chest going up and down as she calmed down, the sage mode markings vanishing. As they did, her eyelids became heavy, and the pain the shroud numbed hit her full force, making her collapse into Akasha's arms. Papa, she muttered, trying to turn to look for Naruto. Where is Papa? Akasha bit her lips so hard she started to bleed as she put her hand on Yasaka's head, keeping it in her neck to keep her still. He is sleeping. Akasha replied as she forced herself to keep it together as she shook. Quite a shame. Nature said as he gripped his umbrella in his hand and used it as a cane as he walked away, unseen by all. Damamaru sighed in relief as the two girls sat down on the ground. What did we do? Temari questioned as she saw this, self-loathing and hatred settling in. You caused death. Damamaru stated as he stepped up, clearing his throat. This is over. The rebel army has lost. Lay down your weapons. All of the rebels did as they were instructed by laying down their arms and surrendering. Even Temari and Kamatari didn't resist arrest as they were hauled off of prison to wait trial. Next morning, Yasaka lay in her futon, covered in bandages and ointment as she blankly stared at her ceiling. She just stared. A few minutes felt like hours. A few seconds felt like minutes. Microseconds left like eternity as Yasaka processed the information she had bore witness to the day before. Naruto was dead, nothing left of him except ash that had been collected for a funeral that would be held in a few days when Yasaka recovered from her injuries. So, you going to lay there like a dog, or are you going to get up? Yasaka jumped at this sudden proclamation, whipping her head around to see Office standing before her. You! Yasaka said as she recognized Office. I thought you were a figment of my imagination. Office, whose face was neutral, stepped forward and flicked Yasaka's head. Ow! Yasaka yelped as she clutched her now aching forehead. That real enough? Office asked as she tilted her head. Now, are you going to get out of bed and lead your people, or are you going to waste away in here? Yasaka scowled, choosing to lay down and cover herself in her blanket. None of your business, she stated as she started to ignore Office. Office stood in patient silence for Yasaka to face her again. I guess I have a stubborn granddaughter, she sighed. Yasaka's ears perked up at this. Grandmother? Please, Granny Marco died decades before Papa was even born. Yasaka stated in irritation as she turned over, blanket covering everything but her face as she pouted. You forget, Marco and Iroh were from your mother's side of the family. Office stated as she sat down, staring into Yasaka's eyes. I am from your paternal grandmother, Ashura's mother. Yasaka deadpanned. Papa's name was Naruto, you liar. Yasaka accused. True, but when I gave birth to him, I named him Ashura. It was after so many generations, he was given the name Naruto Uzumaki. Office explained in irritation at Yasaka's stubbornness. Yasaka shrugged, only to gasp in pain when Office grabbed her ear. Oh, stop, that hurts. Yasaka shouted in pain. Office let her go, and shoved her closed hand in Yasaka's face. Yasaka blinked, before giving Office a questioning look. What? You have something in your hand? She asked. Office nodded. Yasaka held out her hand and Office opened hers, placing a small, glowing orb that had a wisping tail on top, making Yasaka's eyes widen. No, it can't be. Yasaka said shakily as she started to cry, a drip of snot poking out of her nose. It is as you think. Office replied as she looked in Yasaka's eyes. That's as sure as soul. Snort how? Yasaka asked as she made a futile attempt to wipe her nose. Well. Office said. Flashback. Why, Yasa? Naruto started to speak before his back began to become malleable as blue fire burst from his back, shooting outward as it set his clothes ablaze. As his body, bones, muscle, blood, and other parts were charred black, his soul separated from his body at a speed unseen by all who were present. All except Office, who flew through the air fast enough to catch Naruto's soul. End flashback. You were there? Yasaka asked as she heard Office's words. She grabbed Office's outfit, pulling her close. Then why didn't you do anything to stop it? Yasaka shouted, collapsing when the pain from her injuries spiked. Office did nothing but stay calm, though she was irritated. I didn't do anything, because it isn't my place to intervene when my son is going to come back. Office stated clearly, holding her hand up to keep Yasaka silent. Let me tell you a story. Of a boy born into the world, shunned and hated. What a wonderful world. Underworld. It's just too bizarre. Serafal said as she sat at a bar with Surzex, Falbium, and Ajuka. The hero of the faction war, dead. Ajuka groaned drunkenly as he lay across the bar top after 2 shots. Falbium stayed quiet as he silently mourned the loss Kyoto had suffered. A toast, Surzex stated drunkenly as he weakly held up his glass. To the sad passing of Naruto Uzumaki, and for good luck to the new Empress of Kyoto. Grigori HQ. Azazel sat alone on the edge of his headquarters with a bottle of alcohol. Shit, I needed his help. Azazel thought angrily as he guzzled the liquid directly from the bottle. Damn Samel turning into a dragon, took everything we had to seal the bastard away, and the only person who could have killed him is dead. Selfish cockfucking asshole. Azazel drunkenly stated before he got up, nearly falling off the building before unzipping his pants to urinate off the roof. Heaven. Michael and Gabriel sat together as they mourned. If only we could have thanked him in person. Michael said with a shaky smile, his heart weighing heavily. Gabriel nodded as she comforted Michael. We would have apologized for the passing of General Iroh. Gabriel added. Michael nodded in agreement. Asgard. No fucking way. Odin shouted as he, Freya, Thor, and Gondel were shocked at the news. Yes, All-Father. A Kyoto messenger said sadly. Naruto Uzumaki has been slain. His daughter, Empress Yasaka, is now head of Kyoto. Odin sat in his chair, Mimir and his 2 ravens next to him, as he couldn't believe Naruto had died. Did he die a warrior's death? Thor asked carefully. He died protecting a comrade. Olympus! Exclamation point. Aphrodite screamed with tears gushing from her eyes and down the mountain. You're lying. Naruto would have never been killed. The poor messenger from Kyoto was viciously shaken, their neck nearly snapping before Zeus stopped Aphrodite. Is it true? Did Naruto pass? Zeus asked in a seriousness that none of the Olympians had seen. Yes, Lord Zeus. The messenger replied as they recovered. Empress Yasaka is now head of Kyoto. Aphrodite wailed in agony as she felt a piece of her heart shatter at the news being reconfirmed. It's not true. She shouted, grabbing the messenger by the neck. Stop lying, you bastard. Aphrodite, knock this off. Hera stated in irritation as she shed a few tears for her comrade. This is no way to respect his memory. Aphrodite refused. Skip, Kyoto. After that final attack at the Valley of the End, Ashura ended up in my home before he came here, reborn as a baby. Ophis finished explaining. She had been telling Yasaka about Naruto's past for 4 days straight, brief pauses for Yasaka to eat and use the bathroom as she recovered. Office, ever shy, would hide when anyone entered the room, not liking many outside her sons and grandchild. Yasaka's eyes were wide in thought as she registered all the information Office told her. How do I know this is the truth? Yasaka questioned after a few minutes of silence, glancing at Naruto's soul that was resting in Office's hands. How do I know that is Papa's soul? Office didn't make any expressions as she mentally sighed. It is all up to you. Office said as she stood up, looking her granddaughter in the eyes. You're an adult, so I won't try to force you to believe me. Office opened a portal to the dimensional gap, taking Naruto's soul with her. I'll be back every so often to check in on you, stupid granddaughter. Office said with a sly smirk before she entered her invaded home. Once the portal closed, Office summoned a small amount of earth from a random dimension. She used her hand to dig a small hole before she placed Naruto's soul on it. I should build something to make sure it doesn't fly off. Office thought as she retrieved small amount of wood and rope. Possibly should tie it to me so I know where this is at all times. As she picked up a plank of wood, Office's eyes became cold as steel as a gray fog entered her realm. Office. Office turned and saw a towering figure, easily over 12 times her height. Its head was a skull, with crown-like appendages on the top part with vampiric fangs. It has exposed bones with muscle under them with a massive half-circle made of bones behind it while it held a scythe of human heads in its right hand. It had a dull gray skirt of fog covering its legs. 1. What do you want, soul sucker? Office asked as she returned to her desire to build a small cage to keep Naruto's soul from wandering. This figure was not amused at her insult, but willingly let it go. That soul, it belongs to me. It said as it pointed at Naruto. He is dead, and as an elemental spirit that was alive before man, I get to eat it. Office didn't even act like she heard this spirit. You can act tough, deaf, but you are nothing but a bottom feeder. Office stated as she started to construct the area. You cannot interact with the dead nor can you go to hell, so piss off. Death growled at her blatant disrespect for its position. I know the boy is special, but I need to eat as well. Death stated as it moved around to make her look at it as it touched Naruto's soul with its sharp bony hands. He could always come back, but if his soul is destroyed. Office's eyes narrowed as snakes ensnared and tore Death into pieces, massive amounts of its body being devoured by her snakes.
Ah ha 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 ha, it laughed as the remains of the skull, with the lower jaw connected to the upper jaw as it started to reform.
Office recalled her snakes, all of their eyes on Death as it finished laughing. I don't see the reason to let a being as powerful as that stay alive. Death stated as it started to reform its head, missing a chunk of its skull. What is so special? He is just a human. So why stick your neck out for him? You wouldn't understand, because you don't know what it means to live. Office stated as she remembered Hagoromo. Death chuckled in mild amusement as it started to reform its neck. One day, I promise you, I will feast on his soul, and I shall enjoy every ounce. It stated before it vanished. Kyoto. Yasaka was surrounded by the 7 ninja swordsmen as they walked to the courthouse. It was the trial of the rebel army. Yasaka faced the courthouse that was full of hundreds of people on trial. Now for the start of my leadership. Yasaka thought as she felt anxiety start to creep into her stomach as butterflies. Papa, please, help me save these people. Hours later. Yasaka sighed as she felt like pulling her hair out. The 7 ninja swordsmen of Kyoto patrolled the grounds, in case there was an attempt at an escape as she spent minute after minute listening to the testimonies of every yokai. Many were angry, loathing creatures. Proudly boasting their pride in being there when the false emperor was dealt with, wishing they had been the ones to kill him. Many were sad, repentant beings, seeking redemption and forgiveness. Some were neutral and could care less. Many were sentenced to death, while the rest were sentenced to prison for a set time or life. Finally, the last two. Yasaka thought as she watched Temari and Kamatari sit before her and the council. Yasaka remembered them. These two, they were a part of a group of 4, and they attacked Papa, and I once when I was very young. Yasaka thought before she shook her head. No, I need to be impartial or else, it wouldn't be fair. Temari and Kamatari, sibling Kamaitashi. Yasaka stated as she pulled their paperwork from the large pile. You were the leaders of this army, conspiring to kill the previous emperor. How do you plead? We plead guilty. Temari stated calmly as Kamatari nodded. Yasaka rose an eyebrow. You plead guilty knowing that this is punishable by death or imprisonment? Yasaka asked to make sure they understood. The two weasels smiled. Empress, Kamatari said with a shrug. We understand. We aren't perfect, but after all that has happened, I can say for sure that we feel this is the best choice to make up for our sins. He and Temari bowed. We accept any punishment, they said in unison. Yasaka closed her eyes. An image of Naruto appearing. What would Papa do? She thought as contemplated her decision. After several seconds, Yasaka relaxed, her shoulders slumping. Yeah, he would do that. She thought as she opened her eyes, a somber look as she looked at the paperwork. For the crimes of starting a rebel army, Temari and Kamatari are sentenced to life in prison. Yasaka declared. What? Empress, think about what you are doing. They started a revolution. Keeping them alive is just like putting poison in your cup on purpose. They should suffer for what they have done. Your father let them go all those years ago and look what happened. Yasaka stood up, glaring at the council and shocked criminals as a quick yet ferocious pulse of her power silencing them. It is as you say, letting them live is a dangerous gamble. Yasaka stated as she sat back down. However, what will they learn if they are dead? If we want them to suffer, as you put it, then they should live in prison to see if they can learn from their mistakes. Yasaka, with her piece said, dismissed everyone, the prisoners being taken to their cells, and those who were proud rebels to the end were sent to be executed. Lady Yasaka. A member of the council called out to her. We received news. We have some important visitors waiting for you. Who are they? Yasaka asked as she started to follow the council member to meet the new arrivals. Because depending on who they are, I'll have to ask them to reschedule the visit. There are 3. Lord Zeus, Lord Odin, and a woman from the Aztec culture. The council member stated. Yasaka nodded. As she left, Damamaru, with Samahata on his back, joined her as the rest of the swordsmen went to train with their swords. They arrived in the throne room and saw the 3 guests. Zeus and Odin, wearing formal gowns of their respective cultures, and a woman that Yasaka had never met. Ah, Princess, no, Empress Yasaka. Odin said as he walked up to the young leader, bowing respectfully with his mighty gungar in his hand as a cane. It is a pleasure to meet you. I am sorry for your loss in both your people and your father. It is a pleasure to meet you too, Lord Odin. Yasaka replied as she bowed deeply out of respect. Papa always talked highly of you and your family. He was quite fond of Fenrir and Gondel. Odin chuckled before he was pushed to the side by Zeus. Lady Yasaka, if there is anything we Olympians can do to help in these trying times, please, don't hesitate to ask. He stated in a frenzy. Yes, of course, Lord Zeus. Yasaka stated before he grabbed her shoulders and shook her. I mean that. Anything. He stated quite clearly. The woman belted Zeus outside the head with a pleasant smile on her face with a foreign weapon in her hand. My, he is quite pushy. She said as she turned to Yasaka. She was a tall, fair-skinned and hourglass woman with enormously large breasts. She has long, wavy blonde hair with turquoise and green color at the ends. Her eyes were closed. She wore a headdress resembles the headwear used by Huitzilopochtli, the Aztec god of war and the sun, with rainbow-colored feathers. Her attire consists of gold, metal armlets on both of her arms, along with a belt that holds the tekpaddle, which she had used to hit Zeus, with a leather cloth hanging from the belt. There also seem to be remnants of bones disseminated on the cloth. 2. Sorry, but I don't think we have met. Yasaka said as she bowed. Oh, that's right. The woman said with a polite bow before she straightened up and opened her eyes, revealing she had heterochromia. Her left eye is navy blue on the outside and yellow on the inside, with a green, slit pupil. Her right eye is green on the outside with designs and black on the inside with a yellow, slit pupil. I am the Quetzalcoatl. But please, call me Lukoa. Yasaka's eyes widened. The rainbow serpent. The Aztec equivalent to Jormungandr of the Norse and Leviathan of the biblical religions? Yasaka said in awe. Lukoa laughed, closing her eyes in the process, making her cloth-covered breasts bounce. Yep, that'd be me. She said before she became serious. I sent a letter to your mother long ago, and had been waiting for an ambassador to show up, but when I heard of your father's passing, I decided to come and pay my respects. Yasaka nodded, before she remembered something. Ophis said Papa would recover, but never said how long it would take. So, should I tell them Papa will return? Yasaka thought as she started to mentally sweat. Damamaru put his hand on her shoulder. You alright, Yasaka? He asked. She nodded. Since you are here, are you seeking to build an alliance with Kyoto? Yasaka asked. Yes, I want to help and create trade between our cultures. Lukoa replied. Okay, then I think it is important for you to learn something. Yasaka said as she invited them to a smaller meeting room. But let me invite a few more important people.
After 10 minutes, Akasha, Vlad, and Hilda were with Yasaka, Domamaru, Lukoa, Odin, and Zeus.
What is going on, Yasaka? Vlad asked as he drank some water. Papa is not dead. Silence, that's not funny. Damamaru said as he shuddered. It's true. Yasaka stated before Hilda hugged her, confusing her. I know many people grieve differently, but denying the truth is not good. Hilda said as she pulled back, her arms still around Yasaka. I lost my husband, so I understand the grief. But Papa will return, Ophis said so. The faction leaders went quiet with wide eyes. Did you just say Ophis? Lukoa asked seriously, eyes open in shock. Why yes. Ophis, as in, Ophis the infinite dragon god Ophis? Odin asked as he gripped his spear. Why you wait what? Yasaka questioned, more confused. The Ophis who lives in the dimensional gap and can take the form of anything she wants with an endless power supply, thus being infinite. Zeus stated quite loudly that caused lightning to strike as a sudden downpour of rain splashed across the land. That Ophis. All eyes were on Yasaka, who did not know how to answer. Yes. Odin, Zeus, Vlad, and Lukoa sat in their chairs with confusion and deep in thought written on their faces. Why would Ophis come and say that? Vlad thought in worry for Yasaka, since she was family. Could it want to harm her? Ophis, you have never been one for companionship, so why tell Yasaka that Naruto would come back? Lukoa questioned, the first of two wise deities there, with her hand on her chin. Ophis must be planning something bad if she seeks Naruto. Odin, the second of two wise deities there, thought. I'll have to consult Mimir and prophecies when I return to get answers. I wonder if Ophis desires the power of the Li line for something nefarious? Zeus thought as he stroked his beard. Is anyone going to explain who Ophis is? Akasha asked as she could tell Yasaka was confused, and she also didn't know who Ophis was. Well, that I can explain. Lukoa said as she leaned onto the table, her breasts pressing against it to alleviate pressure from her back. Ophis is a being of infinite power. Meanwhile, Naraka. Buddha and Enma decided as they read Ozai's life accomplishments. You bastards! Ozai shouted as he struggled against his chains before he was thrown into Naraka via portal. Enma sighed as the Buddha shifted to a better sitting position. So many people passed and so many people to judged. Enma said as he wiped his forehead as he continued to judge, sending several men and women who died in the rebellion of Kyoto to various realms. Azula was next. Naraka. The two deities said in unison without even needing to think. Azula smirked as she was thrown. I'll be back, I promise. She shouted as she entered the frozen realm of Naraka. She is quite the piece of work. Buddha said as he looked at the long line of men and women yokai who had been executed for their crimes pretty recently. Yeah, but luckily, the promised child wasn't in line, meaning that he is going to return. Enma said as he continued their job. That night, after the faction leaders returned home, except Lukoa who stayed so she and Yasaka could finalize their alliance the next day, Yasaka gathered the swordsmen for a feast to celebrate the completion of her inauguration as empress. Zuko sat alone, feeling immense guilt as he bit his lip. Why am I even here? He thought, his ears flat across his head. I should be kicked out. They are probably going to do that later. They all know Azula is my sister now, and since she killed Emperor Naruto, they will hate me. I should resign before they do that. Save some face. Yo, Zuko, you feeling alright? Yoruchi asked as she looked at the kitsune as he was very quiet. I am sorry, everyone. Zuko blurted out, causing everyone to look at him. If it hadn't been for me, your father, he would have still been here. Zuko's heart pounded loudly in self-loathing. If only I hadn't choked. Zuko shouted angrily. If Azula's words hadn't gotten to me. Zuko was smacked by Kenpachi of all people. So, what if your sister used you to get the boss killed? Kenpachi asked in a serious tone before he drank sake. Your survivor's guilt is misplaced, kid. We don't blame you, Zuko. Yoruchi said as she punched Zuko's shoulder playfully, smiling brightly. Mumbles of agreement rippled through the seven, making Zuko tremble. They still accept me? He thought. How? I should not even be allowed to be a part of this anymore. Zuko, Yasaka said as pointed her chopsticks at Zuko. Papa picked you and I accept you as a part of this group. If Papa or I sensed anything negative, we would have brought it up. She slurps more ramen into her mouth as she stared him down. You are a good person, so please, continue to fight alongside us. Yasaka asked with a genuine tone and smile. Besides, if you tried to resign, I would not allow it. You are a valuable asset. I will. Zuko stated without hesitation, eyes watering and nose runny with snot. I will. Yasaka smiled as everyone cheered, raising their beverages, some alcohol, some non-alcoholic, and continued to enjoy themselves with Zuko opening up and starting to have fun. A toast to a bright path for Kyoto, the Aztec, Norse, and Olympians. Yasaka declared drunkenly as she smiled with a dopey look in her eyes. Ghosts of the past. Early morning. Yasaka's body felt heavy and her brain was fuzzy as she forced her eyes to open. God, what a night! Yasaka thought as she peeled herself off of the floor, seeing Kenpachi's leg hanging through the wall from a giant hole in the wall as Urza and Yoruchi were nearly naked with Inuyasha and Bankatsu were posed with their fists in their faces, having punched each other as they collapsed the night before. Zuko snored as he lay with his face in a potted plant, which housed a pool of vomit. Damamaru, the only one who could handle his liquor, was nowhere to be seen. Most likely in the kitchen. Yasaka thought as she could hear the sounds of pots over the fire and a knife chopping vegetables. I need to sober up. She pushed her temples, trying to think of a place to relax, when she remembered a place. Grandpa Iroha's tree. Yasaka thought as she remembered the tree where Naruto would take her twice a year. Once on Iroha's birthday. Once on Tamamo's birthday. Silently, Yasaka fixed her kimono and left the compound unheard and unseen. She walked slowly once outside the capital, crossing the path that Iroh, Tamamo, and Naruto before her carved into the land by walking it. Yasaka smiled sadly as she saw the cherry tree at the cliff, picking up her speed to get there. Our family tree. Yasaka thought as she walked under its branches. The smell of the grass, the texture of the bark, the cool breeze brushing against her and the branches, causing some of the petals to fall. She sat at the roots, which had an area where it seemed to have been worn out and formed into a sitting space from years of use. Yasaka relaxed and closed her eyes, her ears twitching at the small sounds. Leaves from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile tiny shells, drifting in the foam. Yasaka sang, remembering the song she heard Tamamo sing her many years ago. Little soldier boy, come marching home, brave. Soldier boy, come marching home. Yasaka had no idea what was driving her. If it was the sadness of the treasured people who came to this place, if it was subconscious desire, or divine intervention, but she followed her gut. Ash in the snow, falling so slow, like fragile broken hearts, with no place to go. Yasaka continued as she pulled her legs into her chest with her arms. Little soldier boy, taken from home, forced to fight a war that was not his own. Tears started to form in her eyes, which Yasaka wiped away as she took a deep breath. Little soldier boy, cold and alone, brave soldier boy, never made it home. Yasaka followed up. Leaves from the vine, changing so slow, like empty fallen souls, looking for a home. Yasaka stood up, a small stream of tears coming down from her eyes as she held her arms up, hands open as if she was trying to grasp the sky, head held up facing the pink and blue space. Little soldier boy, thought he could soar, brave soldier boy, fallen in the war. Yasaka sang before lowering her arms, her tone becoming softer and quieter. My little soldier boy, I need you home, brave soldier boy. Come marching home. 1. The sound of clapping made Yasaka jump, turning around to see Lukoa applauding. That was beautiful, Empress. Lukoa said as she approached. Sorry if I scared you. I just woke up a few minutes ago. I was informed you had left, so I followed your chakra signature here. Yasaka wiped her eyes, cleaned her nose to be presentable. It's okay, Lady Lukoa. Yasaka stated. Lukoa smiled a bit before she opened her eyes, becoming very serious. However, before we start, I want to tell you something. Lukoa said, the aura of calm becoming dark and cold. Yasaka swallowed the lump in her throat as she nodded. First off, this belief that your father will return, Lukoa stated, holding her hand up, palm up in a questioning way. It would have been better if you kept that to yourself. But you are our allies, you should all know. Thank you. That line of thinking is needed, but this is not a simple thing. Lukoa explained, not shaming Yasaka. If it was a trade deal, then maybe, but this is dealing with a dangerous individual. Office is not something you should have contact with. But Lukoa interrupted by putting her hand up. I'm not finished. Lukoa stated. No competent leader would reveal crucial information unless it is confirmed. That is not the case with your father's possible revival. Also, this half-assed information reveal does only 3 horrible things: paint a target on Kyoto, to discover why Office was involved. Make people weary of Office's intentions. Which would lead to only bad outcomes. Now Odin, Zeus and I will want to try to find stuff and hence information will be leaked to bad people. Lukoa took a pause to breath. Despite you being new to the position of being a leader, you shouldn't be naive enough to reveal such information to factions other than vampires, since they are your family, correct? Lukoa finished, seeing Yasaka's sadness as she slumped, ears dropping and tail not moving. She sighed, closing her eyes. I am sorry, but these kinds of things have severe consequences if you are reckless. Lukoa explained. Take it from an old woman like me. Yasaka nodded. Lukoa felt the sting of regret, putting her hand on Yasaka's shoulders. I know you meant well, so take this as a learning experience, dear. Lukoa said with a smile, trying to cheer the young leader up. Now, let's go get breakfast before we talk about our alliance. Yasaka nodded, smiling slightly as she and the rainbow serpent left. As they vanished, faint visions of Iroh and Tamamo could be seen, smiling as they watched Yasaka, the Empress of Kyoto, walk her path as a leader. 1481. Ophis floated in the dimensional gap after returning to her home after visiting Yasaka. To think, in that side, it has been 112 years since Ashura died. Ophis thought as she turned and saw Naruto laying on the chunk of earth she summoned, his body that of how it was when he died. The only new thing was the scar of where Azula had impaled him. While here, it has been over 400 years. Ophis moved toward Naruto, making sure everything was still fine. His body is restored, she mentally noted down as she caressed Naruto's cheek. He looks like he is sleeping. Over these centuries, Ophis had watched Naruto's body gain size and shape as his scattered chakra coalesced in the dimensional gap like moths to a flame, rebuilding him from the time he died. Ophis pinched and pulled his cheeks. His body molecules are like Hagoromo's creations. They are made of chakra, however. She thought as she made a small cut on his shoulder, seeing it bleed. He is flesh and blood. Is he like the Biju, beings of chakra? Is that why he was able to reform instead of being reborn like he was the first time? It's better this way. Hopefully, his memories are the same and haven't vanished either. Ophis floated down, laying on top of Naruto, listening to his heart beat slowly and steadily. I can sense all 9 Biju, but I don't feel Ashura's chakra signature completely. Is his spirit elsewhere? But was it not his soul that I had brought here? Ophis questioned. Hey, just because she is the infinite, doesn't mean she has all of the answers. Samsara Hall. Enma sighed in irritation as he looked at the person before him and the Buddha. We're in the line, but got lost and took this long to get here. Enma shouted at the soul before him. Naruto scratched the back of his head as he chuckled nervously. He wore a white burial garb with a small white headband with a triangle on it, like the rest of the dead souls of the Japanese branch. Sorry, Lord Enma, I had to use the bath. Oh, shut up. Enma shouted, a vein bulging dangerously on his forehead and neck. Just get back to your body. Naruto blinked. Body? But, aren't I supposed to die? On the contrary. Oh, Lady Amaterasu. A worker said shakily before they bowed, followed by the rest of the workers and souls, except Naruto. Nice to see you, Amaterasu. Buddha greeted in a familiar manner. Lady Amaterasu. Enma said with a respectful bow. Amaterasu was a gorgeous woman. She was tall, had pale skin, long black hair like an inky black night, which she let down, as she wore a gold and blue kimono. Around her neck was the Yasukani no Magatama, on her hip was the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, and her back was the Yata no Kagami. Greetings, promised child. Amaterasu said with a pleasant smile, a divine aura and brightness seeming to beam onto her at all times. It is an honor to meet you, sun goddess. Naruto said as he bowed deeply. It is also a pleasure, but we must go. She said as she took Naruto's hand. You need to return to your body. Wait, what? Naruto said quite rudely, dropping all manner entirely as he pulled his hand out of her grip. I died. Shouldn't I be going to the afterlife to serve my time in samsara wheel of reincarnation before going back? Oh, yeah, about that. Enma said as he checked his records. Your wife, grandfather, and other direct family members are still in the heavenly realm, or what you called it, the Pure Lands. However, a woman named Miko has been transferred from the animal realm to the Naraka realm to serve some time. Naruto didn't know what to say at this news. I thank you for the news, Lord Enma, but I don't understand why I am being sent back. Naruto said in confusion. Deep down, he wanted to see his wife again. He wanted to see Grandpa Iroh. Amaterasu gave him a sad smile, cupping his cheek. Sadly, you still have a role to play, my dear child. Amaterasu said as she took his hand again. Come, you have someone waiting for you. Naruto didn't ask any more questions, despite really wanting answers. He was enclosed in a beam of light, and slowly he felt his sense of touch come back, since he lost the ability to feel pain as a spirit. As he vanished, 3 people stepped out from behind a tapestry. I wish we could have said something. Tamamo said sadly, her eyes red and puffy from the tears she had shed as she felt Iroh put an arm around her. I agree. Iroh said as he turned to Adrian, who had his long hair in a low ponytail as they all wore white robes, his being more European style than theirs. What about you? Around his neck was a visitor's pass. Yeah, I wish I could have greeted him. Adrian replied as he wiped his eyes. But it was good to see and hear his voice again. Excuse me, Mr. Teeps. An angel said as they arrived. It's time. Adrian nodded before he hugged Tamamo and Iroh. I'll see if next time I can bring Mother. Adrian said as he separated from them. Tell Lisa we said hello. Iroh called out as Adrian returned to his place in heaven, where his mother awaited his return. Now, it is time for us to return to our place. Iroh said as he turned. Come along, Tamamo. Tamamo didn't move immediately, just looking out at the distant skies. I'll be waiting, Naruto. She thought sadly, before a sad smile graced her lips. Don't beat yourself up and find love again, Naruto. I love you. Tamamo. Coming, Grandpa. Tamamo replied as she followed Iroh back to the heavenly realm. Dimensional gap. Ophis, now sitting on her legs with Naruto's head on her thighs as she brushed her hands through his hair, felt something change in Naruto. He feels warm. she thought as she could feel his body come back to life as they said. Tailed beast psyche. Naruto felt familiar water around his feet, smiling as he recognized the 9 presences in around him. Hey everyone. Naruto spoke fondly as he opened his eyes to see the tailed beasts around him. I'm sorry I'm late. The beasts chuckled as they all rose a limb, to bring it down on Naruto. Ow. And that is for wasting time in the line with a thumb up your ass. Kurama spat, hitting Naruto again for good measure as the rest of his siblings were satisfied with hitting Naruto once. And that was for good measure. Just because you're mad doesn't mean you get to hurt me, fuckers. Naruto yelled back angrily. Now wake up. The 9 beasts said in unison. Dimensional gap. Naruto could feel himself becoming conscious. So, I am back alive. He thought groggily as his senses were getting awakened. Damn, this is fucked up. I feel so sore and... So, you are waking up. Naruto cracked his eyes open bit by bit, his vision being blurred and sensitive from the intense light. He could now feel himself being propped up on someone's legs, with their arms around his torso. Some more time passed before he could open his eyes and look around him. It was a void. Full of colors and empty. No start, no end, total silence, worse than darkness. Where? Naruto thought as he tried to sit up, only to be pulled down by whoever was holding him. Don't move. You have been reforming for 407 years, so take it slow. The person said emotionlessly. I don't want you hurt yourself more than you already were. Who are you? Naruto asked in a raspy voice. Where are we? We are in my home, the dimensional gap. Ophis replied as she smiled down at Naruto. You know, I thought you were just a physical figment of my imagination, but now I know I have gone insane. Naruto stated as he relaxed. Oh, you aren't insane, I am just Ophis. Ophis revealed her name. Finally. Naruto could only stare in dumb confusion as he pushed off of Ophis, standing on the chunk of earth a short distance from her. Adorable. She stated as she stood up, dusting her skirt off. I feel like I have been blasted into the past, Ashura. Ashura? Naruto whispered. The only Ashura I know was the son of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Ophis responded. How do you know of Old Man Sage? Naruto demanded, but was stopped when Ophis appeared before him and wrapped him in a hug. Because I was his lover, which makes you, Ashura, my son. Ophis said, her emotionless tone holding small amounts of happiness in it. How long have I wanted to hold you again, my son? My dear Ashura. Naruto and the tailed beasts were shocked to hear this. What? They all shouted within Naruto. Breaking her hold again, Naruto jumped back, prepared to fight if necessary, as he tried to find a source of nature energy that he could use to enter Sage mode. Why do you run from me? Ophis asked sadly. You aren't my mother. Naruto stated, watching Ophis carefully. My parents are Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. True, your original birth parents are Minato and Kushina, but that doesn't mean you aren't my son. Ophis pointed out. After all, you have met Hagoromo, who told you that you and Indra were reincarnations of our sons, Indra and Ashura. Sasuke. Naruto thought for the first time in so long. Have I cracked the disbelief? Ophis asked. Naruto blinked, his blue eyes turning red as Kurama took over. I remember you, we all do. Kurama stated in a serious tone. It was you who found us all here all those years ago when Naruto was sent here. Of course, Kurama. Ophis said, having known his name from her time watching over her son's reincarnations for all those centuries. Though I was unable to go to that world, I still watched them. The thought of having to watch her family destroy itself broke Ophis's giant dragon heart. Watching Indra's temptation, seeing Ashura's hard work, watching Hagoromo die, witnessing the creations of the Senju and Uchiha clans. So much war, so much bloodshed. That bitch Kaguya. Office grumbled as Naruto took over his body again. So, you know of her too? Naruto asked seriously, still wary of Office. I won't be too trusting to her, just yet. Who do you think keeps her riffraff of a hippie family away from this dimension? Office retorted. I slaughter the bastards the moment they enter this space. You can kill them so easily? Yes. Office lied. She had only fought off 4 Otsutsuki members, but did not escape harm. She had been fighting Great Red when each one came, so she was distracted fighting 2 opponents who would gang up on her. How fair, you giant red bitch. Office thought as she got pissed thinking of her rival. So, is there a way home? Naruto asked curiously. I don't know if my Rinne Sharingan can return me home. Note to self, see if I can interdimensional gap with Rinne Sharingan. Of course, I can send you home. Office said as she turned to Naruto, calming down as she reached up to pat his head. I wish you the best of luck, Ashura. Naruto frowned. I'm not Ashura, I'm... Naruto started to before he was pushed into a portal leading to Kyoto. Office smiled brightly, tears welling in the corner of her eyes. I love you, my dear son. She thought deviously. Yasaka is going to be so happy, should I tell her? Before Office could come to a decision, Great Red reappeared nearby, making Office turn, murder in her eyes, and a sadistic, happy smirk on her face, which shook all of reality before any fighting could start. Kyoto. Naruto screamed like a bitch as he fell through the air after the portal released him 5 miles above the ground, causing a giant crash, thankfully, empty field. Oh, God, I feel sick. Naruto grumbled as nature's elements were in full swing with a heavy rainstorm with thick mud and slippery ground. Wait. I'm naked, fuck it's cold. As Naruto ran around the countryside, naked, cold, and alone, Yasaka sat in the comfort of her office. Yasaka had grown up. She was now at a comfortable 5 feet 5 inches, with plenty of room to grow. Her breasts and hips filled out more. She was no longer a C-cup, was now an E-cup, with supple, thick thighs and tight, but to complement her breasts. She now sported an additional 2 tails for a total of 3. As Yasaka and her shadow clones did paperwork, she could not help but feel incredible sadness. It has been nearly 12 decades since Papa left, and Office promised he would be back soon. She thought as she looked at a portrait of her family. Correction, 3 portraits. First was of her as a child, Naruto, and Tamamo. Second was of her and Naruto when she was 15. And the third, and most recent, was of her and the Teeps family, Hilda, Akasha, and Vlad Teeps. Office, I'm sorry. Yasaka thought in a dull sadness. I don't think I can keep believing Papa will come back, returning home. Kyoto. Yasaka sat with her council as they talked with emissaries from the Norse, Greek, and Aztec pantheons. Behind Yasaka was old man Damamaru with Samahata on his back. He wore a battle-ready kimono and sported heavy wrinkles on his face, his eyebrows having grown so thick they covered his eyes. He had a graying beard under his beak-like mouth. We all in agreement for the new trade for medicine and passing of smithing technology? Yasaka asked the emissaries. I believe they are passable. They are satisfying. It is the best way to go about this situation. Then we are done for the day. Yasaka replied, slouching over in her chair, a headache coming over her as she undid her shadow clones that were working on paperwork. Papa never told me about this backlash. An image of Naruto smirking at her entered her mind, making her frown. She got up from her chair and left with Damamaru. Lady Yasaka. Damamaru stated unsurely. Yes, Uncle Doma? Yasaka asked. Damamaru stood before her and felt uneasy and sad. I don't think I can take any more of the duty of being the head of the swordsman. He said to Yasaka. My body is getting weak, so I feel like I should choose a successor and retire. Yasaka gasped. But. She went to say, but stopped herself. If that is what you wish, then take time off to find and train your successor. You have more than earned your retirement. Damamaru smiled happily as he bowed to his empress. Thank you, Yasaka. He said gratefully. Oh, look, you made the old man cry. Kenpachi, that's not nice to say. Yoruchi, Kenpachi, how was patrol? Yasaka asked as she turned to see two other members of the swordsmen. They hadn't changed much, except Yoruchi, who grew her hair out, having it in a ponytail, and grew up physically. She still had a single tail, however. Beside her Kiba was Nuabari. It would be good to get back to being 7 instead of 4. Kenpachi stated as he crossed his arms, Kabuki at his side. Even with you using 2 different swords, Yoruchi. His once spiky hair was let down and his eye patch was a different style. Inuyasha had retired to have a family. Bankatsu had been slain. Urza had retired after losing use of her legs due to a spinal injury. Yoruchi shrugged, not caring about what he said. At least she uses technique over brute force. Zuko said as he entered the area. He had haramacarii on his back, his hair up in a top knot. On his chin he had a small goatee coming in. He now sported 3 tails, showing he had gotten stronger over his life. Now. Yasaka stated, stepping between Kenpachi and Zuko as she didn't want to have to repair the compound, again. Enough of that. Let's go get some lunch. Fine. Zuko and Kenpachi said in unison, making Yoruchi chuckle at their antics. Yasaka smiled as she looked at her uncle figure. You may go, Uncle Doma. She stated before giving him a hug. Damamaru hugged her back and left the group, who went to eat lunch, leaving him to walk through Kyoto alone. It has been so long. Damamaru thought as he walked in silence, seeing families walking, children playing and people working. We were so young when we first met Naruto. He looked over at a small forested area. That is where I first met you. He thought sadly. Those boys wanted to hurt you, and I did too. But seeing your scared expression, I couldn't do it. He continued to walk on in silence, reliving memories of his life with Naruto in Ine village, when a child bumped into him, falling down onto the ground. The child was a female aquatic yokai, which was shown from the gills on her neck and cheeks. Her fingers and toes were webbed. She essentially wore rags to cover her dirt-covered body. She had blonde hair and tan skin, her green eyes wincing. Sorry. She said as she got up to leave, only to get grabbed by the back of her outfit by Damamaru. What are you doing? My coin bag? Damamaru asked, extending his hand. Confused, the girl tilted her head. Damamaru forced his hand into her clothes, and pulled out a violet silk bag full of coins, which belonged to him. With the cat out of the bag, she tore her outfit and grabbed the bag, running as fast as she could. She zigzagged through the crowd, gasping for air as she ran. Okay, I got away. She thought as she turned down a small alley and ducked under a fence, leading to a different part of the capital near the edge wall. Hey, Harabelle. 1. The now named Harabelle stopped in her tracks when 2 older boys approached her. Seems you got your hands on something interesting? Harabelle pulled the bag into her body tightly, doing the best aggressive glare she could. Yeah, I did, but not for you. She stated clearly as she put on hand behind her. Oh, come now, aren't we friends? The second said as he pushed her to the ground, knocking the wind out of her, but not stopping her from kicking him in the nuts. Phew-uck. You're dead, Harabelle, the other boy said as he grabbed a thick stick, and raised it to hit Harabelle. As he brought it down, she flinched, closing her eyes and waiting for the pain. I believe that is enough. Wait, I know. Harabelle thought as her eyes snapped open, and looked up to see Damamaru holding the stick in his hand. You. Hey, it's one of those swordsmen, the boy who got kicked mentioned as he saw Samahata on his back. Oh shit. The second one shouted, grabbing his friend and bolting. Damamaru chuckled as he threw the stick aside and turned to Harabel, who tried to run, only to feel him grab her arm gently, but firm enough to keep her from running. Let me go. Harabel screamed, trying to get some attention from another adult. It's okay. Damamaru said calmly as he knelt down. I'm not here to hurt you. Then let me go. If I do, you would run before I tell you why I followed you. Harabel stopped fidgeting. She turned to him, still holding his coin purse, narrowing her eyes. Why did you follow me? Because I think you would be the perfect successor for me. Damamaru said as he let her go, glad she didn't run. Harabel's eyes widened. Successor. She mumbled, letting her guard down a bit when she recognized Samahata. Me, one of the 7. Yes. Damamaru replied. But I won't force you. If you accept, you'd face intense training, but you would have a home, and you would not have to steal anymore. Harabel had made up her mind. I'll go. She said as she took Damamaru's hand in her free hand. I'll accept any training you give me. Damamaru smiled and patted her head. All right, but first. He muttered. Let me have my money back. Harabel blinked, going red in embarrassment as she gave it back. 1 week later. Lukoa walked alone as she enjoyed the spring weather in Ine, Japan. She was currently wearing a blue and violet kimono, and had her hair up. As she was walking amongst the people, she didn't want to scare anyone in her more revealing normal attire. It is so different from home. Lukoa thought as she looked around, even with her eyes shut, watching yokai work and live together. Ine was flourishing as the fishermen hauled in large amounts of fish. Man, this haul was amazing. One of the fishermen, a tanuki yokai, declared happily. It was all because that blonde guy that showed up 2 days ago our haul improved. Yeah, I know. But for some reason, he reminds me of someone. The other yokai, a squid, replied. Especially with those whisker marks on his cheeks. Lukoa stopped in her tracks as she heard this description. Blonde with whisker marks on his cheeks? Lukoa thought before she approached them. Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you know where that person you just mentioned is? The tanuki and squid quirked an eyebrow and thought. I believe he left for the old location of Emperor Iroha's tea shop. The tanuki stated as they scratched their chin. I wonder why. Anyway, the old tea shop was located right past that building. The tanuki pointed their clawed finger past the tallest tower, which was actually a lookout point for boats. Thank you for your help. Lukoa replied politely as she bowed before she left. If this is who I think it could be, then I need to know. Yasaka would be happy to see Naruto again. Meanwhile, Naruto, wearing his kimono with the upper portion at his waist, wiped the sweat off of his face as he removed some rubble that covered the location the Jasmine Dragon once called its home. This is where Adrian and I first played together. Naruto thought as he walked into the back area where a small water canal had been dug with a shore covered in small stones as he pulling his kimono up to cover his upper body. Flashback. Adrian watched as Naruto skipped rocks across the stream that was behind the restaurant. Wow, that is amazing. Adrian said as he watched another rock bounce on the water 7 times before sinking into the water. Not really. Naruto said as he sat down. I am not good at much. Why would you say that? Adrian asked curiously, not understanding why Naruto was sad.
I am human. Naruto told Adrian. But I am raised amongst yokai.
Adrian got really close to Naruto, stars in his eyes. You are human too? Adrian asked excitedly, making Naruto jump back. Cool, because my mom is human, making me a damper. Cool, what is it like being a damper? Naruto asked, equally excited since he never seen a damper, or a vampire to be honest. It's not bad, I mean, supposedly we are weaker than true-blooded vampires like father, but I believe that strength isn't determined by bloodlines. Adrian stated as he looked to the sky. Naruto looked up too. Hey, can we be friends? Adrian asked Naruto. Of course. Naruto said as he held out his fist for a fist bump. Adrian blinked as he looked at Naruto's fist. You press your fist against it, it's called a fist bump. Naruto explained. Okay, that is interesting. Adrian said as he fist bumped Naruto, both smiling as they threw more rocks into the water. End flashback. Naruto wiped his eyes of the water that started to form. It was a much simpler time. Naruto thought as he leaned down and picked up a small rock. As a small smile crept onto his face, Naruto threw the rock into the water, making it skip 7 times before it sank. Naruto went to pick up a second stone, but went still as he felt a massive presence approaching his location. Is this a dragon? Naruto thought as he grabbed the stone, standing up straight. It feels like one, but there is something different. Something godly. Naruto took position to throw the second stone when he heard steps behind him. Hello? Naruto turned and saw Lukoa, his heart racing at her beauty, but wiped his nose of the small trickle of blood before she could notice. Hello. He replied as he faced her. You need something? Yes, I am looking for someone who, well, I guess it would be you who helped those fishermen? Lukoa asked as she looked Naruto over. He looks exactly like Naruto from Yasaka's paintings. Yeah, they were having trouble, so I decided to help them. Naruto replied with a casual shrug. I mean, I did live here. Lukoa nodded. Before anything else, can I get your name? Naruto asked politely. It is a bit of an inconvenience if I don't know your name. Oh, where are my manners? Lukoa apologized. I am Lukoa. It is nice to meet you. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto replied as he took a bow. It is a pleasure to meet you, Lukoa. Lukoa bowed as she was deep in thought. It could be him, but I have never met Naruto, so I don't know his mannerisms or speech patterns. So, that leaves me with one option. Lukoa thought as she cracked open her eyes. Naruto's eyes widened, putting his arms up in an X to block a sharp gust of wind that Lukoa expelled as she tapped into her power. Kyoto. Yasaka bolted to her feet as she sensed Lukoa's power flow across the land of Japan. Lukoa is fighting, or at least preparing to fight. Yasaka thought as she recognized the location Lukoa was at. That is Papa's and great-grandpa Iroha's home. MT Olympus. We need to go now. Zeus stated as he, Poseidon, Hades, Artemis, Athena, and Ares stumbled over each other to get their gear before taking off to Japan. Asgard. Hurry up. Odin shouted as he, Thor, and Tyr took off to the Bifrost temple. Lukoa might be in danger. Without needing to stop, Heimdallr was in the process of activating the Bifrost. The Aesir teleported to Midgard. Wallachia.
Akasha, Hilda, ve mustaisist. Vladstattet as he pullet on his coat.
Of course. Hilda responded, wearing her combat-made uniform. Akasha nodded. She had grown her hair out, holding it with a black bow, and European-style plate armor. Ione village. Such magic. Naruto thought in confusion as he was pushed back. Also, why is she attacking me? Naruto flexed his arms outward, pushing against Lukoa's wind, canceling it out, activating his Rinne Sharingan as he threw his hand up. Shinra Tensei. He stated calmly. Lukoa was blown backward by an intense gravitational force, sending her over the village out into the open water. He blew me several miles off of the coast. Lukoa thought as she caught her balance, using her magic to stop her descent and repositioned herself right side up. Such power with a simple gesture. So, you going to tell me why you attacked me? Lukoa heard, making her look down at the water to see Naruto standing on it. Or am I going to have to force you to tell me? Lukoa descended to the water's surface, taking notice of his red Rinne Sharingan. The third eye that he and those monsters he used to stop the faction war. Lukoa thought as she shed her kimono with magic to don her battle/normal attire. Naruto's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before he bit his lip to keep the serious look on his face from faltering. What is with that seductive outfit? Naruto thought as he fought off a bloody nose. Lukoa glided across the water, closing the gap, her fist being blocked by Naruto, who was entering Sage mode to help his reaction time. Why are you attacking me? Naruto demanded as he pushed back, activating his Byakugan. Lukoa dodged his strike, pushing his hand aside before grabbing his elbow, pulling him in as she kneed his stomach, only for her knee to be stopped by Naruto's other hand. Good reflexes. Lukoa replied before lifting herself up and sweeping his head with her left leg, sending him into the water, causing massive ripples in the ocean. The water lit up in a golden orange as Naruto burst out. You are not an easy opponent. Naruto stated as he floated into the air with his 9 Truth Seeker orbs behind him. So, I guess this is the best way to respect your strength. Lukoa smiled, her eyes fully open in delight as she felt a rush of adrenaline and excitement in her blood. So, this is the power you used to stop the war. She thought as she jumped up at Naruto. Naruto easily evaded her punch, only to punch Lukoa in the side, sending her flying through the air. Lukoa inhaled before expelling a concentrated beam of rainbow-colored magic from her mouth, making Naruto defend by using his Truth Seeker orbs merging together to cover him, the beam pushing him higher into the air. Naruto and Lukoa didn't take notice of Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Artemis, Athena, Ares, Yasaka, Vlad, Akasha, Hilda, Thor, Odin, and Tyr appeared. Yasaka's eyes instantly widened with light tears starting to form. Papa! She whispered. Akasha and Hilda gasped. As Lukoa's attack ended, Naruto returned his Truth Seeker orbs to their orb form. Alright, let's finish this, Kurama. Naruto declared as he summoned Kurama's tailed beast mode. Kurama gave a mighty roar, excitement in his tone as he hadn't fought in who knew how long. Lukoa chuckled as she saw this. Oh, this is going to be good. Lukoa declared as she transformed into her dragon form, taking the appearance of a large amphitheater dragon with broad feathered wings and a mask-like skull. Naruto shook in anticipation as he felt Lukoa's radiance through the air, and with his sensing abilities. Kurama and Lukoa lunged, slamming head first into the other, their power clashing against each other. Kurama growled before he pulled back, only to get wrapped up by Lukoa's serpentine body. As if this could stop me. Kurama shouted as he charged up a tailed beast bomb, and set it off point blank in Lukoa's face. Ayakak, fuck. Lukoa shouted in pain, her grasp weakening as she channeled magic into her mouth, causing a rainbow to form around her head, a full circle rainbow. Rainbow refraction. Kurama's head was blasted off, dissipating the rest of the body, allowing Naruto to move out of Lukoa's grasp. Lukoa laughed as she turned into black matter before she shrank back into her human form. She is indeed strong, but she is only one person. Naruto thought as he contemplated his options. I should end this soon. An all-out fight might not be a bad idea. Lukoa was upon Naruto again, punching him through the air, making him spin. Damn, I guess I'll have to use that technique. Naruto thought as he got stabilized. Come on, is that all you got? Lukoa asked as she floated across from Naruto. Naruto, are you sure about this? I mean, if this doesn't work. Kokuo stated in worry. If it doesn't work, then I guess we will just have to keep fighting until it's over. Naruto thought as he summoned 12 shadow clones. Lukoa chuckled at the clone's appearance. This is the same technique that Yasaka uses. Lukoa mumbled. But that doesn't mean it will work on me. Then let's see how you stack up to a master of the shadow clones. Naruto bit back as he and his clones shot forward. A frontal attack. Lukoa thought as she smirked as she braced for the attack. Child's play. Naruto and his clones gave a battle cry, before they were covered in smoke when they got 4 feet away. Lukoa, Yasaka, Akasha, Hilda, Artemis, and Athena's eyes widened as far as they could go as blood gushed from their noses while Vlad, Hades, Zeus, Poseidon, Thor, Odin, and Tyr looked on in confusion while being slightly disturbed as the smoke cleared to reveal a baker's dozen of handsome naked men of various levels of muscled frames, differing hair and eye colors, and shades of skin appeared before her. Sexy reverse harem jutsu. They all said seductively in unison as they all reached out for Lukoa. Lukoa's entire body tingled in lust. Her loins quivered in desire for passionate sex overwhelming her senses, as she took heavy gasps from her sexual appetite swelled out of control. Lukoa weakly reached out her hand, only to gasp in pain as a Rasengan slammed into her stomach, the transformation jutsu ending with the shadow clones vanishing. Fuck, let my guard down. Lukoa thought as her eyes started to roll into the back of her head as her skin was warped and spun at the cellular level. As Lukoa started to fall, Naruto grabbed her hand, ending his jutsu. Wow, I think I went too far. Naruto exclaimed as he saw the blood leaking from Lukoa's nose. At least it worked. Hopefully she can recover. His question was answered by a slight hissing sound, and a light amount of steam emanating from Lukoa's wound as the cells were rapidly healing. Interesting. Never seen a dragon with that kind of healing factor. Naruto thought as he positioned Lukoa in his arms for a safer way to carry her to the water. Naruto powered down from 6 paths Sage Mode the moment his foot touched water, only to nearly fall in when Yasaka jumped in to give him a hug. Papa. Wah. Naruto said in confusion as he tried to keep standing while carrying both Yasaka and Lukoa. Yasaka? Catching up with the times. Naruto powered down from 6 paths Sage Mode the moment his foot touched water, only to nearly fall in when Yasaka jumped in to give him a hug. Papa. Wah. Naruto said in confusion as he tried to keep standing while carrying both Yasaka and Lukoa. Yasaka? With both Yasaka and Lukoa in his arms, Naruto nearly lost his balance, but with sheer luck, he was able to stabilize his balance and have both feet on the water surface. Naruto, is that really you? Naruto turned and saw the large group of people watching him. Oh shit! He exclaimed. When did you get there? Oh, just before that awesome attack that ended this fight. Athena said with a small amount of a bloody nose. All the females nodded, including Yasaka. Naruto became a bit anxious. But to answer your question, it's me. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto replied. Hilda floated over, punching Naruto into the water as hard as she could. You fucking moron! Hilda screamed with tears of joy streaming down her cheeks as Naruto resurfaced with Lukoa and Yasaka. You have any idea how worried we were? Stupid uncle! Akasha screamed as she punched him, sending Naruto flying. Zeus appeared, hands above his head held together before he sledgehammered Naruto back into the water. What about you, Odin? Zeus asked as he wiped his hands. You going to hit him? No, I'm good. Odin shrugged as he stroked his beard. I think he might have had quite enough of a beating. Naruto, once again, resurfaced, soaking wet and coated in fresh blood. Are we done? He asked tiredly. Because I would like a bath, warm clothes, and a cup of sake, so I can explain what happened. 2 hours later. Naruto sat with all of the faction heads, and their fellow faction members, putting down the now empty sake jug as he took the drink. After that, I slammed into Japan roughly a week and a half ago. Naruto finished before drinking the sake. Then I fought Lukoa. I am sorry about that. Lukoa apologized. I was worried that you could be an imposter trying to get into the royal family. I went overboard. Yeah, I am still in pain. Naruto joked. Yasaka smacked Naruto's shoulder. I'm happy you're back, uncle. Akasha said as she hugged Naruto. It was lonely without you. Naruto sighed in sadness as he hugged Akasha back. It's good to be home. Oh, I have an idea. Yasaka said as she stood up, leaving the meeting hall and returning with a familiar weapon. My sword? Naruto asked as he reached out for it, only for Yasaka to keep it from him. This sword would not let anyone draw it from its sheath. Yasaka stated as she looked at it. It seems to desire only its master's hand to draw it, so. She held it out, the handle before Naruto. Without hesitating, Naruto drew the sword and looked at her with a deadpan. Are you satisfied? He asked, holding his sword. Because I feel like I have proved my identity now. Yes. Yasaka, Vlad, Odin, Zeus, and Lukoa replied in unison. I guess it is time for all of us to leave. Odin pointed out. True, let's leave the family to reunite without the excess. Zeus agreed. So, should we tell Aphrodite? Athena asked quite loudly, smirking as Naruto went stiff. Wait, don't. Naruto shouted before the Aesir and the Olympians vanished, leaving Lukoa, Hilda, Akasha, and Vlad. Oh god, they are going to tell Aphrodite, and she is probably going to come here. Naruto slumped, depression lines waving over his head before he took notice of Lukoa. Why are you here, Quetzalcoatl? Naruto asked, somewhat snapping out of his funk. Oh, I live here sometimes. Lukoa stated. And please, call me Lukoa. Okay, why though? Naruto asked as he stood up to clean up the massive mess. Well, because I like the Japanese style. Lukoa declared. Naruto deadpanned. She is an otaku. Naruto thought. Slam. Is Naruto here? Kenpachi shouted as he, Yoruchi, Zuko, Damamaru, and Harabel barreled into the room. Naruto blinked. Kenpachi, Yoruchi, Damamaru, Zuko, and who are you? Naruto asked as he saw the young yokai standing behind Damamaru, not out of fear, but because she was not one of the seven, she thought she should respectfully stand behind her mentor. Come on, introduce yourself. Damamaru encouraged Harabel. I am Harabel. She introduced. I am a seven swordsman in training. It is nice to meet you. She was wearing a kendo uniform with a wakizashi at her hip. Her hair having a single braid in the back. Well, it is nice to meet you, Harabel. Naruto said as he knelt down and held out his hand. Harabel took it in hers, shaking it with a smile on her face. She has been an excellent student so far. Damamaru stated proudly, chest puffed out. I bet she has. She has a large amount of chakra for one so young. Naruto said as he stood up, putting his hand on Damamaru's shoulder. She will be an excellent leader when it is time. Anyway, uncle. Akasha said as she stepped forward. I think we should inform you of what has happened while you were gone. 2 hours later. Naruto leaned into the wall, hand on his head as he processed what he had heard. Lisa is gone. He whispered. Yes, Vlad replied quietly. She went peacefully. I pray, how that's ironic, that she is with our son, waiting for me to make my journey into the afterlife. Akasha and Hilda stood beside him, giving him silent support, which Vlad accepted from his granddaughter and daughter-in-law. Nothing much has changed besides time, wardrobes, politics, and technology. Naruto sighed as he tried to move forward. Vlad, how would you rate Yasaka's reign as leader? Hey. Yasaka pouted. Vlad cupped his chin in thought. Well, she did make a few hiccups over the decades, but she has done well. Vlad replied. She led her people to a great era of peace, however. The humans have become quite bold as of late, not only in Japan, but around the world. Hilda finished. Their abilities to track and fight as supernaturals are getting stronger, and some species have sadly been eradicated, like the dodo bird. Naruto went into thought. Then it seems my job is clear then. Naruto said as he looked at Yasaka. I will need to finish your training before I set what I plan into motion though. Training? What training? Yasaka asked sheepishly, eyes avoiding Naruto's. Oh please. Did you think I wouldn't have noticed your incomplete Senjutsu and Rasengan training? Naruto asked as he walked up to her and grabbed her arm. Come on. Yasaka's eyes widened as Naruto started to drag her out of the room by her arm. You too, young lady. Naruto stated as he grabbed Akasha, her own eyes widening as Naruto took both women outside. Wait, why are you dragging me along? Akasha shouted as she and Yasaka tried to break his grasp. Naruto smiled brightly. Can't I spend time with my adorable niece and daughter? He asked. We aren't little kids anymore, uncle/papa. Akasha and Yasaka shouted, making Lukoa, Hilda, and Vlad laugh a bit. I am. Hilda stated as she dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. So happy Naruto is back. Vlad nodded in agreement. I'm happy I got to meet him. Lukoa replied cheekily, tapping her cheek with her index finger with her eyes cracking open a bit. I wonder if he is dating. Oh, you are in for an awesome ride if you get with him. Hilda stated. How would you know? Lukoa asked, her smiling stretching across her face when Hilda's eyes bugged out as she turned red. I guess we will take our leave then. Vlad chuckled as Hilda nodded. As the two vampires left, Lukoa got up and returned to her home across the world. Skip. First rule, come at me with the intent to kill. Naruto stated as he stood before Yasaka and Akasha. Second, I won't be using Senjutsu or any of my dojutsu. Nor will I use my other forms. But won't that handicap you, Papa? Yasaka questioned in concern. Naruto smiled cheekily. Oh, don't worry, I need to get my exercise somehow, this seems like the best way. Naruto replied as he stretched a few times before jumping up and down a bit, before landing and taking a fighting pose. Instinctively, Akasha and Yasaka entered their fighting stances. There was a silence between the three. A gentle wind blew the leaves in the trees, causing several weaker or old ones to fall off. The moment the last one hit the ground, Naruto charged forward, hands open, grabbing the two women by the faces and slamming them into a tree, clones with Rasengan in their hands rushing forward as Naruto jumped away. Akasha pushed off the tree, pulling one hand back as she charged magic into it. Jigen too. She shouted as her hand went through the clones without popping them, before it shifted and they were destroyed. Damn. Naruto thought as he gripped his side from the phantom pain he received via clones. That dimension sword technique, wonder where she learned it. You okay, Yasaka? Akasha asked. Yeah, but my head. Yasaka started to say before she shoved Akasha aside with one hand, spinning a Rasengan of her own and connecting it with Naruto's. The condensed power of both Rasengan collided and blew up, pushing the users backwards, Naruto landing on his feet and faltering before Akasha appeared before him. Naruto gasped as he felt 14 separate and precise strikes to his both. Fuck. Naruto thought as he substituted with a log gripping his torso as he landed in a tree out of Yasaka's and Akasha's sight. They may not have connected precisely, but if those hit my vitals, they could kill me. Naruto backflipped and kicked Yasaka in the face, sending her to the ground. Damn. Yasaka proclaimed as she saw that Naruto had moved south close. She looked around before she forced herself to calm down, closing her eyes and stilling her mind of all thoughts. Naruto quirked an eyebrow as he watched her gather nature energy. as the nature energy flowed into her body, creating tribal markings around her body. Just like Tamamo and Mito. Naruto thought as he remembered his wife and Mito's sage modes. Yasaka snapped her eyes open when she collected enough energy, though it wasn't perfect. The markings surrounding her body were jagged and patchy, unlike Mito or Tamamo's, which were smooth and solid colors. Akasha and Yasaka moved to stand back to back with each other. We are being overpowered even with his handicaps. Akasha stated, slightly tired from using the Jigen too. Ha ha ha, and here I thought I was getting sluggish. Naruto stated, his voice echoing from seemingly nowhere. Yasaka growled as she tried to feel Naruto out. Damn, I can't feel him. Yasaka thought as she stilled her breathing and cleared her mind. Try to find him. A little too late. Naruto whispered into her ear, making Yasaka jump. Akasha spun on her heel, kicking Naruto in the head, popping the shadow clone. Where? Akasha asked in a panic before she saw Naruto behind Yasaka, crouching with his hands in the tiger sign. Yasaka blinked as she saw Naruto crouching behind Akasha with his hands in the tiger sign. Hey! Both yelled as they went to charge at the Naruto they saw. Hidden Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu. Naruto and his clone stated calmly before jamming their fingers into Yasaka and Akasha's butts. 1,000 years of death. Yasaka and Akasha went still, discomfort on their faces. Exclamation point, they screamed as they launched off the ground, smacking into each other mid-air before they hit the ground, asses up with their hands clutching them. Naruto cackled playfully as he dispelled his clone. Fuck you uncle, that hurt. Akasha screamed angrily, eyes teary. Hey, language. Naruto stated as he sat down, looking at the two women glaring at him, trying to burn a hole into his head. Whatever. Yasaka pouted, ears down. I'm proud of both of you, but there is a lot of improvement. Naruto stated as he put his hands on their heads. Akasha, your martial arts have improved from before. Naruto pointed to his arms to show massive bruising. And your magic has gotten stronger. As for you, Yasaka, your chakra control has increased and your reaction time is instantaneous. But Akasha said, knowing he was going to point out their flaws. You both displayed amazing abilities, I couldn't see a single flaw in your execution, except near the end. Naruto pointed out, his finger pointing upward. I have nothing much to teach you, but I believe you can find a better instructor for techniques, Akasha. I understand. Akasha said with a smile as she was happy to be told she had improved. Besides, she put her hand onto Yasaka. This idiot needs all the help she can get. Hey, that's not funny. Yasaka snapped as she pinched Akasha's cheek and pulled. Ow, what glow. Akasha shouted in pain as she grabbed Yasaka's cheek. YWOU first. Yasaka demanded. Both stopped, sweat drops of fear forming as they turned their eyes to see Office glaring down at them from behind Naruto. Ashura, they are acting like brats. Office stated, arms crossed. Naruto faltered at Akasha and Yasaka let each other go. Can't you call me Naruto? He asked as he deadpanned. Why? I named you Ashura, so that's your name, Ashura. Office replied as she looked at him. Yeah, you said that, but you aren't my mom, and my parents named me Naruto. Naruto explained as he scratched his cheek. Wow, you really are related to Office, uncle. Akasha stated in awe. I thought that was something Yasaka made up. Hey. Nope, it's true. Naruto said with a roll of his eyes as he made the quote signs. I am a reincarnation of Higoromo Otsutsuki's youngest son, and apparently, the mother was Office here. Office looked at the two young women and smiled. It's been a while, hasn't it, Yasaka? Office asked. You didn't ask your father about his previous life? Naruto and Yasaka's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Akasha asked in confusion. Well, it's nothing, Naruto said as he glanced at Office, who took the hint with a smirk. Yasaka, being the smart woman she was, got the hint as well. He will tell me about it later, she thought as she felt her as starting to feel better. That night, Naruto and Yasaka, wearing sleeping yukatas, sat on the deck of their compound's inner garden. I see, Yasaka said as she looked up at the waxing gibbous moon. You really came from a different dimension, where humans had chakra, and there are 9 chakra beasts inside you, and there are aliens hellbent on attacking your home. Yeah, Naruto replied as he looked at her somberly. I never told you because I felt that it was unnecessary for you to know. I mean, this is my home, so you knowing would not be beneficial. Did Mama know? Yes. Naruto spoke as he nodded. I told Tamamo. She was shocked, but she accepted it. And then there is now me being classified as a chakra being. Meaning, I am 1/2 Kitsune. Yasaka said as she looked at her right hand, then looked at her left hand. And 1/2 chakra being. There was a silence between parent and child. So, did I inherit anything from those tailed beasts? Yasaka questioned. I don't know. Can you control sand? No. Can you control blue fire and extend your claws? No. Can you create corral when you palm strike? Nope. Lava? Definitely no. Boil your chakra to its boiling point? What? Create corrosive solvent from your pores? Don't joke around. Create spores like an insect and grow insect wings? Papa. Can you squirt ink out of your mouth? Gross. Sense negative emotions? Yasaka paused, mouth open before she adopted a thinking pose. I think I might have gotten that. Yasaka explained. I mean, when I was little, the day you made your declaration that you would be emperor, until I was ready, I remember feeling so much anger. It was like hundreds of small whirlpools forcing themselves into my head. Naruto smiled as he leaned into Yasaka, touching his head to hers. Then I guess I'll teach you that as well as complete your senjutsu and Rasengan before I leave. Naruto stated. Leave? Yasaka questioned. Yes. Naruto replied with a spark in his eyes. I can see you have this leadership down, so I don't know what I could do. But I want to honor Tamamo by returning to my duties as an ambassador when I can, but I also want to go out, see the world and help as many people as I can. Humans, yokai, angels, anyone. Yasaka could see the excitement in Naruto's eyes and nodded. That's true. You would cramp my style if you stayed, old man. Yasaka stated with a cocky smile. Naruto chuckled as he stood up, getting Yasaka's attention. It's getting late, Yasaka. Let's turn in for the night. Naruto said as he helped her up. Want me to tuck you in, read you a scroll, and kiss your forehead goodnight? Yasaka's cheeks puffed out as she turned, crossing her arms. I am not a child anymore, Papa. She stated clearly. But you'll always be my baby. Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around her in a hug. I love you, Yasaka. I always will. He kissed her cheek. Good night. Naruto said as he released Yasaka, and went to his room. Night, Papa. Yasaka replied sadly. Her ears drooped. Papa is going to leave. She thought sadly. Yasaka walked to her room, her futon having been placed on the ground, and walked to her cabinet. Upon opening it, she reached in and pulled out the Tamamo doll, which was in perfect condition still, and snuggled it into her arms as she got into her futon. Night, Mama. She thought as she was overwhelmed by tears as her heart ached. Early morning. Naruto sighed with a smile on his face as he wiped his forehead clean of sweat with a towel. The sun had just started to creep over the horizon as he drank some water before looking proudly at his accomplishment. This will surely help with her sage training, Naruto thought as he looked at the long spires that thinned to a point and the large pile of tiles. Old man Fukusaka would be better at this training, but since he isn't here. Naruto became melancholic at the memory of his third mentor, Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya, Fukusaka. He thought as he remembered them, and the many lessons they taught him. You all have given me many things, and now I am handing these teachings to my daughter. Jiraiya's Rasengan training, Naruto emulated and put Yasaka through. Now, Fukusaka's tile meditation training to help still the body would be the next lessons he would teach Yasaka. Then, after that, Naruto thought as he remembered Kakashi teaching him how to use wind elemental chakra, and adding it to the Rasengan, which evolved and became wind style, Rasen Shuriken. Naruto's stomach growled. Guess I should go eat. Naruto mentally chuckled as he went inside. What are you thinking about now? Chome asked in boredom as he was the only of the beasts awake at the moment. Just something that just crossed my mind, and something I think you guys would enjoy. Naruto thought as he made his thoughts his own, not wanting the surprise to be spoiled. Naruto felt something bump into him, making him look down to see Harabel. Morning, Lord Naruto. Harabel yawned as covered her mouth while yawning. Good morning to you too, Harabel. Naruto said as he ruffled her hair. You looking for the kitchen? Harabel nodded. Well, let's go together, Naruto said as he offered his hand to her. Harabel took it without hesitation and the two went to get some breakfast. Morning, Tashimi. Naruto and Harabel greeted as they saw Damamuro's wife. Like her husband, Tashimi had gotten older, and was visible to everyone. Don't worry, I'll have your meals out in no time, Tashimi said with spirit as she prepared their food with a speed neither could track. Morning, Papa, Tashimi. Yasaka grumbled as she walked in, eyes closed with some drool out of her lips. She sat down and lay across the table, a snot bubble forming as she started to fall back asleep. Yasaka snapped up when Tashimi slammed the trays for Naruto and Harabel on the table, her tails going puffy from her hair standing on edge. The table is for eating, not for sleeping, Tashimi lectured. Wow, never thought Lady Yasaka would be yelled at, Harabel said in wonder as she picked up some shrimp. Naruto chuckled. By the way, Yasaka, I have your sage training all set up so after breakfast, we shall start, Naruto stated as he looked at his daughter. Yasaka groaned. One by one, the remaining members of the Seven Swordsmen arrived and ate breakfast, Naruto leaving with Yasaka before they finished, taking her to the spires. Yasaka, you know the basics of Senjutsu, or at least, what it is? Naruto asked as he stretched a bit. Senjutsu is when a being brings in nature energy, mixes a balance of it with their own chakra, creating a three-way balance between our mental and physical energies, which combine into our chakra. Yasaka explained. Meaning, if there is too little, it won't work. Too much, we either go berserk until we die, or some other form of death. Good, you know how it works, Naruto said in relief. And I guess you know of the Yujutsu portion of chakra? Yasaka nodded. I am not as adept at Yujutsu, but I guess that comes with being your daughter, Yasaka joked, making Naruto roll his eyes. Sure, make jokes now, because you won't be laughing soon. Naruto shrugged as he glanced at the spires. So, what does this training do? Yasaka asked in a serious tone as she watched Naruto remove the upper portion of his yukata, leaving his chest bare, before he picked up 2 stone tiles. Come on, Naruto said as he climbed up the spire quickly, placing a tile down before he sat on it, perfectly balanced as he entered sage mode himself before looking down towards Yasaka. Yasaka, days not getting any longer. Yasaka groaned and climbed up before sitting on the tile as Naruto held onto it with his hand. Again, Papa, what does this training do? Yasaka asked as she sat with her legs crossed like Naruto. Well, you have the ability to draw in nature energy easily, but you aren't balanced. Naruto explained as he continued to hold Yasaka's tile still. This training will teach you how to stay still. Stay still? Yasaka questioned stupidly. Naruto nodded. Go ahead, try to gather nature energy with meditation. Naruto ordered. Yasaka straightened her back, put her hands together, and closed her eyes, attempting to enter a meditative state. Naruto let the tile go. Yasaka's eyes widened as she felt the tile shift back and forth. Whoa, WOAH. Yasaka shouted as she fell, her life flashing before her eyes as her tile fell and smashed onto the ground. Naruto smiled as he caught Yasaka with his chakra hands, courtesy of Kurama, before she hit the ground. See, not so easy. Naruto mentioned as he pulled Yasaka up, not shifting in the slightest as he made a second hand to grab a new tile. You were moving, thus you could not balance. You're moving. Yasaka started to say before she noticed. Naruto was moving, but he wasn't moving. He had become one with nature. It has been a long time, Naruto. A voice said as Yasaka placed the new tile on the spire. Naruto looked behind Yasaka, who was sitting on a new tile trying to meditate, and noticed a person he had not seen in a long time. Nature, the positive half, floated behind Yasaka, smiling brightly as the young kitsune started to wobble on her tile. You think she is going to fall? Naruto's face became cold. Nature's dark half was behind him. Naruto watched as Yasaka fell, catching her before she made it halfway. You were close on that one, Yasaka. Naruto said proudly. But this is just meditation. Your mother struggled with this as well, but she had a better teacher to help her. Yasaka frowned. You saying you aren't a good senjutsu teacher despite your mastery? Yasaka asked as she was given a third tile. No, but this was how I was taught when I was learning senjutsu, remember? Naruto reminded her. Yasaka nodded and got on the tile. Dark and light of nature maneuvered behind her, pressing their hands onto her back as their power flowed into Yasaka under Naruto's critical eye. Her senjutsu markings formed across her body, only this time, they were more solid and smooth instead of transparent and jagged. The tile wobbled dangerously before it stabilized. Yasaka opened her eyes. Instead of her usual golden eyes, they were red with 3 markings on each of her cheeks, similar to Naruto's own whisker marks when he would get possessed by Kurama. She has found her balance, Naruto thought with a proud smirk. So, how does this feel, Yasaka? It feels. Yasaka said as she felt different, yet familiar. Like I have woken up for the first time. Naruto glanced above her, seeing nature was gone. So, you just need to practice this every day, and then you will be a master like me. Naruto joked. Yasaka chuckled. Thank you, Papa. Yasaka said as she felt many life signals with her newly achieved, and perfected, life-sensing ability. I can sense many people. All of the 7 in the compound, and all of the council members. Yes, but now we will start your training with your negative emotion sensing. Naruto replied as he and Yasaka descended to the ground. But it's more like an on or off power to be honest, so how do I train her in this? Papa? Yasaka asked when Naruto went still.
Sorry, I am not Naruto. Kurama das returna to face Yasaka.
Naruto's whisker marks had thickened and his eyes were red with slit pupils. Yasaka noticed that Naruto's chakra felt different, since she was still in sage mode. Naruto was having a difficult time thinking of how to teach you the superior negative emotion sensing ability. Kurama explained, crossing his left arm to touch his right elbow with his right hand in the air. It will be like how he just helped you with senjutsu, but with less risks.
Okay, Kurama-sensei. Jasakka sait vittää, povas her senjutsuentet.
Sensei. Kurama thought with a blush, before he scowled as Naruto and his siblings laughed at him. Softy. You blushing over being called sensei? I would have never thought you were so emotional. Who would have guessed? I know I didn't. I am just as shocked, but it's too funny not to laugh. It's adorable. To each his own. Ha 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 ha. Shut up. Kurama thought in anger, red in the face. Kurama shook his head as he held his fist out for Yasaka, who was confused. Press your fist against it. Kurama stated angrily. Why? Just do it. Kurama growled. Yasaka held up her own fist and pressed it against Kurama's, and their chakra connected, blending together. She gasped as she felt a rush of knowledge and understanding flow into her before Kurama pulled his hand back. Just make sure to practice turning it on and off. Kurama warned as he looked at Yasaka. It can be overwhelming if it is left on at all times. Of course. Yasaka replied as she bowed. Thank you, Kurama-sensei. Kurama smiled with embarrassment before he switched with Naruto. Well, you want to continue with your sage training? Or do you want to go on to your last bit of training? Naruto asked as he looked at Yasaka. Yasaka went to respond, but stopped. Flashback. Then I guess I'll teach you that as well as complete your Senjutsu and Rasengan before I leave. Naruto stated. Leave? Yasaka questioned. Yes. Naruto replied with a spark in his eyes. I can see you have this leadership down, so I don't know what I could do. But I want to honor Tamamo by returning to my duties as an ambassador when I can, but I also want to go out, see the world and help as many people as I can. Humans, yokai, angels, anyone. Flashback end. Yasaka bit her lip. I'd like to refine my sage training before moving on to the Rasengan training, Papa. Yasaka meekly replied. Okay, that's fine with me. Naruto said as he put his hand on her shoulder. Come on. Naruto walked up the spire again, grabbing 2 more tiles as Yasaka clenched her hand before her chest, her heart throbbing in fear. 2.5 weeks later, Saturday. Naruto and Hilda sat in the restaurant to another world Nicoya. This is still a great place to eat. Naruto said as he devoured a seafood platter. Yep. Hilda responded before she drank deeply from her mug of beer. So happy you came back with me, Naruto. I didn't want to come back alone. Akasha wanted to come, but with her soon taking charge of Wallachia from Vlad in a few months, Vlad said she needs to finish her studies. Naruto shrugged. That just means more food for me. Naruto joked as he held up his mug of beer. They clinked their mugs and drank the rest of their beer. Another round please. Hilda asked loudly as she held up her empty mug. Of course. Kuro the dragon said through telepathy as she nodded. Naruto went silent as said dragon took their empty mugs to refill them. Something wrong? Hilda asked as she felt the beer start to take effect. I don't know. It could be me, but Yasaka has been messing up lately. Naruto muttered as he leaned into his hand. I mean, she learned how to do sage mode and negative emotion sensing in one day, but she is acting like an amateur who doesn't know what they are doing. It's like she is doing it. On purpose? Hilda asked with a raised eyebrow as their second set of beer arrived. Thank you. It is obvious to me, Naruto. Naruto ate a fried scallop. What do you mean? He asked. Hilda put her utensils down and looked at Naruto in the eyes, well, what she believed to be his eyes as she started to see triple. She is afraid of abandonment. Hilda bluntly told him. What? I never. She lost her mother at the young age of 4. Hilda cut in. Then, when she was 17, you were murdered before her eyes. She had no uncles, no aunts, no grandparents. Sure, she had me and my family in Lukoa, but that doesn't replace the parental guidance she really needed. Hilda drank and ate a bit more of her food. Even at the age of 129, that girl is afraid of being alone. Naruto slumped. Being alone. Naruto thought as he remembered his past in Konoha. An orphan who was left alone, shunned by his village for carrying the dangerous Kurama. No one explaining anything to him. The sadness and confusion to why people were distant and worried when he did nothing to receive said social rejection. Hilda could see the wheels turning in Naruto's head and continued to eat. I guess it would be a bad idea to leave Kyoto. Naruto muttered. No, by all means, you should leave and help people. Hilda stated. I didn't tell you this to guilt trip you into stay with your family, Naruto. But to show you why she is wanting you to keep training her, and her actions being clumsy. She doesn't want you to vanish again. But. Hilda smiled as she held up a hand, silencing him. I know, but I am not the one you should tell those words to. Hilda told him. Tell Yasaka tomorrow when you're sober. Yasaka is a strong girl, she will understand. Naruto nodded. Hour later, Wallachia. Lukoa laughed as she carried Naruto on her back. She had her hair up in a ponytail as she wore a yukata, courtesy from Yasaka for her to wear. Sorry to have to ask you to do this, Lukoa. Hilda said as she swayed a bit, holding the fence they walked next to. It is no problem. Lukoa giggled as she shifted Naruto's weight. I was in the neighborhood enjoying the sights, so this is the least I could do. Hilda nodded before her stomach churned, her eyes widening as her cheeks bulged. Lukoa rubbed Hilda's back as the vampire puked onto the ground. There. Lukoa said in comfort before she picked Hilda up with ease, carrying both drunk adults above her shoulders. After a few minutes, Lukoa arrived at Castle Dracula, dropping the slumbering Hilda to her daughter. You want me to open a portal to Kyoto? Akasha asked Lukoa as she looked at Naruto, snore and drool down Lukoa's shoulder. No, I am good. Lukoa said with a sweet smile. I need the exorcise anyway. Okay. Akasha said as she patted Naruto's head. Have a good night's sleep, uncle. Naruto snorted in his sleep, chewing the air, as he shuffled in Lukoa's grasp. Lukoa bid farewell to Akasha, taking to the skies, carrying Naruto bridal style now. He is so cute when he is sleeping. Lukoa thought with a smile as the moonlight illuminated the sleeping male. She floated above the clouds, the cold air making Naruto shuffle closer into her body warmth, making Lukoa giggle as she descended into Kyoto. Hey, special delivery. Lukoa called as she landed in Yasaka's home. Only that no one was home. Oh, that's peculiar. Lukoa mumbled as she walked through the compound and found Naruto's room. Okay, big guy, time to get you. Lukoa shuddered in excitement when Naruto drunkenly spun in her grasp, face-planting into her breasts. Oh, you dirty boy, Lukoa thought as she put him down. Now, where is his futon? Looking around, Lukoa located the bedding and put it on the ground, turning to Naruto, only to see him getting up, groaning. He groaned as he turned, hazily looking at Lukoa with the moonlight hitting her, illuminating her body. Naruto got a goofy smile. Tama, he drunkenly slurred as he shuffled across the floor on his knees. Come here. Oh, Naruto, I'm not. Lukoa started to say before Naruto pounced her, pushing her to the floor with Naruto on top of her, rubbing his face between her breasts, opening the yukata she wore. Tama, I love you. Naruto slurred before laughing a bit, leaning up and clapping his hands stupidly. Lukoa felt short of breath as she opened her eyes, seeing Naruto above her. When did you get 4 head? Naruto questioned with a very happy smile. He put his arms at Lukoa's sides, making her blush and heart pick up pace. I want to kiss them. Naruto stated before he started to lean down, lips puckering. Lukoa pulled Naruto down, locking lips with him, their tongues battling each other for dominance. "Oh, you bad boy." Lukoa gasped happily, pulling out of the kiss as Naruto's left hand touched her shoulder and slithered down to her breast. Naruto removed the upper portion of his kimono, leaning into her neck and licking the sweat, sending chills down Lukoa's spine. Lukoa spun herself and Naruto around, now on top of him, and threw her yukata aside, revealing her body to him. Her large breasts smushing into his face as he snaked his arms around her waist, squeezing her soft flesh before going south and gripping her ass. Lukoa moaned as she bit her lip, trying to keep it in as her lower lips continued to moisten. He is so aroused. Lukoa could feel Naruto's dick pressing against her body, yearning to feel her, and she wanted to feel it inside of her. "You ready, Naruto?" Lukoa asked, stopping when she heard him snoring as his hands slacked and fell off of her butt and onto the ground. "Oh, you little motherfucker. How could you fall asleep right before having sex?" "Tama." Naruto grumbled. "Bad, Dad." Lukoa sighed as she forced herself to calm down. "Come on, girl. Calm down." Lukoa thought as she had a mental fight with her body, more specifically, her vagina. "He is prone, you should fuck him." Her body screamed with yearning and intense lust. "But he is asleep, it would not be fun to enjoy it while he doesn't." Lukoa thought as she stripped Naruto before pushing him onto his futon, purposely rolling him in a way to see his dick in all its glory. "Screw moral decency. He has the gall to play with us and you expect us to calm down after all that sexual build-up?" "Yes, now shut up." Lukoa thought strictly as she pulled Naruto's blanket over him. "And for you, Naruto, I'll get this dick eventually." Lukoa kisses Naruto on the lips, holding it for a bit too long before she forced herself to leave, putting her yukata on. "I'll have to play with myself for a while if I plan on sleeping tonight." Lukoa thought as she could still feel arousal sparks in her body as she left. "Damn you, Naruto, let's talk." Morning. Naruto groaned as the sunlight hit his face, pulling his blanket over his head. Knock, knock. "Papa, it's time for breakfast." Yasaka called through the door before she went to eat herself. Naruto groaned loudly as his head slightly ached from being hungover. "How the fuck did I get home?" Naruto pondered. "Lukoa brought you home." Shikaku cackled as he pulled Naruto into the tailed beast psyche, level 1, where he, Shikaku, resided. Naruto blinked as he saw images of himself and Lukoa from the night before, and was shocked to see his sexual assault of the goddess. Shikaku laughed sadistically as he kicked Naruto out of his mind, allowing the man to become full of regret and self-anger. God damn it. He thought as he was aroused at the images and thought of Lukoa's body. I need to apologize to her. As Naruto got up, he remembered his conversation with Hilda. Flashback. She is afraid of abandonment. Hilda bluntly told him. What? I never. She lost her mother at the young age of 4. Hilda cut in. Then, when she was 17, you were murdered before her eyes. She had no uncles, no aunts, no grandparents. Sure, she had me and my family in Lukoa, but that doesn't replace the parental guidance she really needed. Hilda drank and ate a bit more of her food. Even at the age of 129, that girl is afraid of being alone. Naruto slumped. Being alone. Naruto thought as he remembered his past in Konoha. An orphan who was left alone, shunned by his village for carrying the dangerous Kurama. No one explaining anything to him. The sadness and confusion to why people were distant and worry when he did nothing to receive said social rejection. Hilda could see the wheels turning in Naruto's head and continued to eat. I guess it would be a bad idea to leave Kyoto. Naruto muttered. No, by all means, you should leave and help people. Hilda stated. I didn't tell you this to guilt trip you into stay with your family, Naruto. but to show you why she is wanting you to keep training her and her actions being clumsy. She doesn't want you to vanish again. But Hilda smiled as she held up a hand, silencing him. I know, but I am not the one you should tell those words to. Hilda told him. Tell Yasaka tomorrow when you're sober. Yasaka is a strong girl, she will understand. Flashback end. Naruto took a deep breath as he got dressed. I'll talk to her in a little bit, when my hangover is gone. Naruto thought as he thought of something. Once he was done, Naruto headed towards the cemetery, grabbing a small loaf of bread from the table before he left. He walked in silence as he walked through the cemetery, knowing where he wanted to go. Grandpa, Tamamo. Naruto said as he stood before the graves of two of his treasured people. The edges of his mouth perked up into a sad smile as he knelt down and proceeded to clean up their tombstones. Sorry, I haven't been around lately. Naruto apologized as he sat down, chin in his hand as he leaned forward. Just been busy, training Yasaka, and getting acclimated into this new era. He got silence in return, which he expected. Naruto smiled as he closed his eyes, enjoying the sounds of nature around him as he sat up. Leaves from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile tiny shells, drifting in the foam. Naruto began to sing, sensing Yasaka approaching him. Little soldier boy, come marching home, brave. Soldier boy. Come marching home. You know that song has been completed, Papa? Yasaka asked as he finished, making him give her a questioning look. Completed? Yasaka nodded, smiling proudly with her chest puffed out. Ash in the snow, falling so slow, like fragile broken hearts with no place to go. Yasaka continued as she sat beside her father. Little soldier boy, taken from home, forced to fight a war that was not his own. Naruto was enthralled with her song, paying acute attention. Little soldier boy, cold and alone, brave soldier boy, never made it home. Yasaka followed up. Leaves from the vine, changing so slow, like empty fallen souls, looking for a home. Little soldier boy, thought he could soar, brave soldier boy, fallen in the war. Yasaka sang as she looked Naruto in his eyes. My little soldier boy, I need you home, brave soldier boy. Come marching. Home. With a small silence following her song, Yasaka went red as Naruto smiled. Insert, done with work by David Renda. That was beautiful, Yasaka. Naruto praised as he put his hand on her head, petting her. Grandpa Iroh and Tamamo would be proud to hear that song finally completed. Yasaka purred in happiness as she enjoyed Naruto's hand on her head, pouting a bit when he stopped. But there is something I want to talk to you about. Naruto said in a calm tone. About what, Papa? Yasaka asked. Yasaka, are you afraid of me leaving? Yasaka stiffened, a cold sweat rushing down her spine. No. She said as she drummed her fingers across her legs as she avoided his gaze. Yasaka, please. Naruto begged lightly as he leaned forward. You don't need to hide from me. Yasaka's ears lay flat on her head as she slumped. I don't want you to leave. She admitted, gripping her leg. I want you to stay here with me. Naruto stayed silent, waiting for her to continue. Akasha and I grew up when we saw you die. Yasaka stated haggardly as she felt choked up. I was thrown into this position before I was ready. Ofus told me you would be back, so I waited. I waited, and I waited. But you never came back. She shakily took a deep breath. When you came back, I was very happy. Yasaka stated. But now you say you want to leave. How should I feel? Should I feel sad? Should I be okay with you leaving? Should I be confused? I just don't. Naruto took Yasaka into his arms, hugging her tightly. It's okay, Yasaka. Naruto said soothingly, rubbing her back. Let it all out. The father and daughter stayed like this for a while, Yasaka's tears soaking into Naruto's kimono. I'm sorry. Yasaka apologized as she leaned into his arm, embarrassed he was holding her as if she was a child. I don't mind. Naruto said as he put his chin on top of her head, her ears tickling his cheeks. But I want to apologize for hurting you. Yasaka nodded. I forgive you. She mumbled before she glanced at Naruto. You still plan on leaving? Yes. Naruto replied with no hesitation. But I will come back. I know I won't always be here, but this is my home, I will never forget that. Nor will I leave you. Yasaka snuggled into Naruto's arm, smiling. She could tell he was telling the truth with her negative emotion sensing. Well then, what about the next step for the Rasengan? She asked as she pushed off of Naruto, smiling brightly. I have a few days off so we can start that. Naruto smirked as he pulled out a plain piece of paper. Before we start, put your chakra into this piece of paper. Naruto stated as he and Yasaka stood up and left the cemetery. Yasaka took the piece of paper, looking it over. But it's a regular piece of paper. Yasaka said in confusion. Just do it. Naruto laughed. Shrugging, Yasaka channeled a small amount of her chakra into the paper. The paper became pitch black as it split in half. Seems your chakra nature is wind. Naruto muttered as he took notice of the chakra paper's reaction. This is interesting. The paper turned black. Meaning I can do your Rasen Shuriken? Yasaka asked as her smile became wide. You could, but do you really want to use my technique? Naruto questioned in a taunting way. I mean, you could, but everyone would see that and would think you are a copycat. Yasaka's cheeks puffed out in anger. Fine, I'll make my own technique. She stated with a huff. Naruto smiled as he nodded. Okay, now let's find a nice tree. He said as he and Yasaka arrived at a training ground. Why do we need a tree? Because. Naruto said as he took a leaf in hand, putting it between his hands. He focused for a short time before opening his hands, revealing the leaf being cut in half. You will be cutting the leaf in half for the first step of learning how to use wind chakra. Naruto stated. 3 hours later. Naruto watched as Yasaka and hundreds of her shadow clones attempted to cut a leaf in half. Maybe I should start my side project. Naruto thought as he watched Yasaka's newest attempt end in failure. You need me here? No, Papa, you can go do whatever you need to do. Yasaka gasped as she popped the clones, her headache increasing again. God, I need some water. Naruto laughed as he gave her some water before he left to be alone. He walked out of the training ground, entering a new one, where he opened his Rinne Sharingan. Creation of all things. Naruto thought as he clapped his hands together, smiling as he started to make a complex item. Naruto, what have you created? Kurama asked in confusion as he and his siblings looked at what Naruto made. That evening. Phew. Naruto gasped as he sealed away his creations into a scroll. That took longer than I thought. I wonder if Yasaka is done with the first step. When he arrived, he found Yasaka on the ground, gasping for air. So, did you cut it in half? Naruto asked Yasaka. She shook her head. Well, it took me a while, so it can't be helped. Naruto laughed as he picked Yasaka up, putting her on his back. Papa. Yes, Yasaka? When you leave, can you send me letters? She asked tiredly, her hands tightly gripping his clothing. Just, to help me know you will come back. Naruto nodded. Of course. He replied. With reassurance, Yasaka dozed off as Naruto carried her back to the compound. Lady Yasaka. Zuko said as he ran up to Naruto. You need something, Zuko? Naruto said as he could tell Yasaka had fallen asleep from her snores. Yes, well. Sir, could you take her place? Zuko questioned nervously. Sure, what needs to be done? Naruto asked as he summoned a clone and carefully handed Yasaka over to the clone. As the clone took Yasaka to her room, Naruto went to the council meeting for Yasaka, letting her rest. Next day. Hiya, 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 hiya. Harabelle sounded out as she swung her practice sword as she trained with Damamaru. Your form is getting better. Damamaru encouraged, Samahata making a strange sound as he wore it on his back. Thank you, master. Harabelle gasped as she bowed at his praise. Damamaru chuckled before his head whipped to the left as there was a loud cry of pain. He took off with Harabelle at his side, Samahata gargling on his back. They came across Kenpachi and Zuko training, the young Kitsune on his knees before Kenpachi. Come on, that isn't all you can do. Kenpachi said in disappointment as he tapped Shibuki across his shoulders. The sound of electricity cracking echoed as Yoruchi appeared above him, Nuabari in her mouth as she held both Kiba in her hands. Kenpachi sidestepped and swung his sword, Kiba and Shibuki clashing, sparks of lightning and a small explosion going off, creating a smoke screen. Yoruchi whipped her body around, throwing Nuabari from her mouth, it being charged with lightning, and impaled Kenpachi's shoulder, stopping 2/3 of the way through as Kenpachi's chakra stopped it. Fuck. Yoruchi thought as she tried to remove Nuabari with the string, but it wouldn't budge. Damn, that actually hurts. Kenpachi stated in irritation as he pulled Nuabari from Ho's body, before using it to stab Zuko, as he attempted a sneak attack. And I think this is enough for the day. He pulled Nuabari out of Zuko, tossing it to Yoruchi before taking the Kitsune to the compound to get healed. Damamaru sighed as he patted his forehead to remove sweat. Damn kids, they are going to give me a heart attack. He thought weakly as he sat down. Will I be able to sew things like that? Harabelle asked as she looked at her mentor. If you train hard, then yes, you will. Damamaru replied, smiling as he saw excitement in her eyes. Samahata shivered and removed itself from Damamaru and scuttled over to the young shark yokai. Oh, this is interesting. Damamaru thought as he watched Harabelle look confused, looking back and forth at him and the sentient weapon, before she reached out and touched it. Samahata chuckled and moved its handle to her hand, allowing her to take hold, which she lifted it up. Whoa whoa. Harabelle gasped in surprise. It's heavy, but so light. That's because Samahata is supplementing your power with chakra I stored in it. Damamaru explained as he looked at the sword. Samahata siphons off your opponent's chakra or magic, and allows you to grow stronger, and can heal injuries depending on what they are. Stars appeared in Harabelle's eyes. Is this why you are the leader of the seven? She asked him as she could feel herself become stronger when Damamaru touched Samahata's blade, stealing his chakra as he moved his hand away. Yes, but Samahata can take over you if you are too weak. Damamaru warned as he lifted up his sleeve to show her different scales. As a kappa, Damamaru naturally had a scaled body, but these scales were more shark-like in texture and looking shinier. I was able to keep Samahata at bay, but it was by force. He told her. So, I will do my best to prepare you for what might happen. Yes, master. Harabelle stated in enthusiasm. Afternoon. I did it. Yasaka gasped as she held a leaf that had been perfectly cut in half with her wind chakra. Naruto clapped as he smiled at her. You did amazing. He said proudly. Took me over a week to master and merge wind chakra into my Rasengan, and so far, it took you over a day to split a leaf. So, what's next? Yasaka asked. First, you will rest. Your hands and chakra system will need a break after all of that. Naruto said as he helped Yasaka stay standing. Okay, Papa. She said as she felt like she was swaying. Lord Naruto, Lady Yasaka. Yoruchi appeared before the two. Yes, Yoruchi? Naruto asked as she bowed. Sir, Lady Lukoa is here. Yoruchi replied. She is waiting at the compound. Naruto felt a rush of embarrassment run through him as his cheeks tinted red, nervousness jumping in his stomach. Okay, let her know we will be there momentarily. Naruto told Yoruchi. Yes, sir. Yoruchi replied before she vanished. Well, let's go. Yasaka said as she and Naruto walked back to the compound. Yasaka, I have been thinking of opening a school. Naruto stated randomly. Really? Why? Because I want to help train the next generation. Naruto explained as he looked up toward the sun. Yes, Kyoto has you and me, but what if we are elsewhere on business? Who will defend our home if we are not here? We have an army. Yasaka reminded him skeptically. No, I mean yes, that's true, but that army only knows basic tactics and combat skills. I wish to train them in ninjutsu, so they can fight like us. Naruto replied. That would be a good idea, but who would you teach? Yasaka asked. Well, I wouldn't be teaching long, but I would like young children, of any rank, should start their training. Learning the most basic of jutsu, the clone, substitution, and transformation jutsu. Then they would be given teams of 3 with a teacher to help them learn teamwork and expand their skills. Naruto said with a fond, nostalgic smile. Like how things were back in your original home? Yasaka asked since she knew of the Ninja Academy and the structure of their society from Office and Naruto. Yes, just like Ashura's home. Office said as she appeared before the father and daughter. Fuck. Naruto shouted as he jumped from the sudden surprise. Jesus. No, just Office. Office said with a smile. Been a while. Yeah, but. Yasaka started to say before Office hugged her granddaughter. Office shushed. Naruto rolled his eyes. Office, we have someone waiting for us, so we need to get going. Naruto told his mother. I will go with you. Office stated as she released Yasaka and landed on the ground, taking Naruto and Yasaka's hands. Let's go. Naruto sighed with a smirk as Yasaka rolled her eyes. The family trio walked back to the compound, and Lukoa smiled upon seeing them as she sipped some tea, though her eyes narrowed as she saw Office. Infinite Dragon. Lukoa said respectfully with a bow. 6th Dragon King. Office replied dully. You seem down. Did something happen? Lukoa shuffled under Office's gaze. Yes. She said softly as she dropped an illusion that she had put on herself, revealing her cheeks stained with tear marks and a massive purple swollen bruise that nearly had her left eye shut, her right eye was puffy and red. I lost my job. I am no longer a goddess. What? Naruto asked in shock and confusion as Yasaka sat down, eyes wide in surprise. Why did they fire you? Yasaka asked as Office sat next to her as Naruto sat next to Lukoa. Lukoa started to say, her face becoming red as she started to tear up. One of my fellow gods drugged my drink with mushrooms. I slept with my sister. Tezcatlipoca beat the shit out of me. I was just unable to deal with this guilt. I left. Lukoa broke down, crying silently. You can live with us. Yasaka stated. We will go to Tezcatlipoca and defend you. No, it's too late for me to try to get my job back. Lukoa replied, wiping her nose and eye. But I will take your offer to stay here. Naruto sighed in relief. At least I can now apologize. He thought as Office was bored as she drank some tea. Bleh, nasty. Office thought. Men of the Pillars. Night. Lukoa sat in her room, her hair was up as she wore a yukata, while she held a large clump of ice directly to her swollen eye. Stings. She thought as she accidentally added too much pressure, making her body tense. She carefully got up and walked out to the small garden, her path lit by lanterns on the walls. Lukoa sat down and observed the garden Yasaka had maintained throughout the time she knew the kitsune. Beautiful, isn't it? Lukoa smiled as she nodded as Naruto sat next to her with a jug of light sake and a cup. Yes, it is. Lukoa replied as Naruto poured himself a drink. Yasaka once told me you and Empress Tamamo planted these flowers. Yes.